What you think about when you're born into a fire. Let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, we kill it anyway. Listen up now, because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house. The brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away, burn away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To blame, haters face the world's mistakes. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. And we feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race.
What's up?
Hey daddies, it's me, the Linda Binda from TikTok. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to thank you for watching Cold Beer Confessionals with Will Bird. I think that's just incredible. I've watched a few episodes and I'm just like very intrigued. But you know what I'm most intrigued in is Big Daddy's meat stick. I heard that it's very thick, like a good old German sausage. You know, Linda and her coochie loves that. Oh, never mind. Let's not go there. Anyways, I hope you have a good show and enjoy it as you can. There's a lot of weird things that go on, especially when it comes from the realm of Linda Bindaland. So, enjoy the show. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Oh, welcome everybody. I'm Will Bird, and this is the Cold Beer Confessional. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here. I don't think everybody's here yet, but thank you guys who are here. Oh, Legend's here. Imagine that. Just show up and chat like I didn't ask you a question in Discord 2 days ago, which you still haven't responded to. Just saying. I don't know. I don't know what all that's about, but now that you brought it out in the open, I feel fine addressing it, okay? Now that you just ran in here waving hands. Now I feel... No, I just asked you if you knew anything about the San Diego ice battle. What the fuck is going on? It looks like the people of San Diego were standing up to ice, and it has something to do with like this restaurant that is like a key like restaurant in the area or something that may or may not have undocumented migrants that live there. And they were like fighting in the streets. Like first of all, I showed up like military. Like it wasn't cool the way they showed up. They showed up in like Humvees and full fucking battle rattle, like vests, camo, helmets, everything. But it was kind of cool seeing the people drive ice back. So I don't know how that ended up. I've only seen clips of it. And I feel like I'm too outside of it to really understand what's going on there. I tried looking it up. It doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of information on it. So there you go. Some people are cheering it on. Some people aren't. Actually, speaking of that, I was just watching this guy. I don't know what this guy's about to say. But he used to work for us in Nashville. So let's see what he says. I don't know.
I don't talk about it a lot on this app, but 20 years ago, I worked for ICE. So my first real job out of school, I was a contractor at the headquarters, 425 High Street, which has since been torn down. And yeah, it was a very interesting time. I have lots of stories. Met my wife there, who was also working there, which is a weird thing to say. But I bring that up because, like a lot of people, I'm pretty disturbed by ICE's presence on Lower Broadway. I've lived in Nashville now for almost 10 years. And like a lot of folks, I find it troubling that ICE is just wandering in to establishments in Lower Broadway to try to bust people. But I also find it disturbing because of something I learned.
I saw one thing that bothers me currently about ICE. It seems like they're showing up at people's court dates, and there's an accusation that they are asking judges to dismiss cases for like asylum seekers or whatever, just so they can arrest the people there and deport them. But again, South Africans, free reign on the asylum system, right? The reason I don't like that is not because if they're subject to arrest, you know, it kind of sucks if they get arrested, right? If they're subject to deportation, it kind of sucks they get deported. But that's all part of the process. What I don't like is it seems like that's going to foster a mentality where people don't show up to court. We want people to show up to court, whether they're the victim or whether they're, the accused or whether they're a fucking witness. We want them to show up to court. We don't want them scared to show up to court because they think it's a trap.
When I worked at ICE. So while I was there, I got to know some field office directors, and the good ones, and I knew they were good because I knew their metrics, were some of the, and this is going to sound strange given ICE's current reputation, but some of them were the genuinely the most caring people I've ever met. And I know that sounds strange, but at the time, and this is under W. Bush, and I was there for a little bit of Obama, ICE's real job, or a big part of its job, was just deporting people who had committed crimes. Typically, these were violent crimes or crimes that were the outcome could have posed significant risk to society. So, any assaults, they deported a lot of people that had DUIs, that kind of thing. And they also had a pretty big investigative unit, which is important for later. But I remember meeting some FODs, and particularly the one in Denver at the time, who was just an incredible person, PhD in psychology, I believe, and started his career as a social worker. And I was asking what made him effective. And he said, my job is to protect the citizens of Denver, and my job is to have a relationship with the immigrant communities that are here. If the immigrant communities, if the good people that came over, maybe they came over illegally, but if they're here just trying to work an honest living, I need them to tell me and to help me.
I honestly think that's good. I've seen several sheriffs stand up and be like, hey, especially in heavy agriculture areas, saying, hey, we're not helping us. In fact, you can always call us if you think that something's going on with like us. Donald Trump sold it as we're going after murderers, rapists, gang members. It turns out they're just going after everybody, even people that haven't gotten in any trouble and just been working. Even union members, even people that have orders that say they can't be deported, which isn't great. It leaves a lot of jobs vacant, right? It's definitely going to affect the construction industry when we're in a housing shortage. So who knows? When we're in an affordable housing shortage. There are houses. It's just that only boomers can afford them. They're stupid expensive, but whatever.
Guys that are here, right? I don't want them to be afraid of me. I want them to collaborate with me. And by the same token, I need local law enforcement to want to work with me so that when we do need to deport someone bad or they do need help with an investigation, that I can do those things. So we can all to serve and to make this community better. And he said, and I'm not making this up, if ICE is going out and doing traffic stops and doing big public busts, like, I don't know, hanging out on Lower Broadway, it's like, that's when you know that the ICE office is ineffective, because they're doing two things. One, they're pissing off local law enforcement, right? That's generally local law enforcement's job. So it's basically them coming in and saying, I got to do this for you. And two, and this is probably more important, they are threatening and they are destroying any trust that they may have had with the local immigrant population who, although maybe here illegally, some of them, are also their best source of information for the violent criminals who are here. I mean, even if you came here illegally, came to the U.S. illegally, if you are not a violent person, you don't want to live in a violent community or neighborhood. So he said, he started laughing at all of this, but he's like, you can tell a FOD is dumb and ineffective if they make ICE's presence known at every chance they get. Which brings us back to what's happened in Nashville. And it really makes me realize that whoever is running ICE here is probably monstrously ineffective. And, oh, by the way, Metro Nashville Police, granted, I'm, a white guy and I've got some privilege, but they're mostly trusted. They're kind of okay. Like, they're not in the news. Like, every interaction I've had with them has been maybe not positive, but it hasn't been bad. So we have good local law enforcement. They solve crimes. I mean, look at what happened at Covenant. Look at what happened the other week on the Membrane Bridge. I mean, our cops are good cops. So the fact that ICE feels the need to go to Lower Broadway and try to deport some dishwasher trying to earn enough to support his kids, or a line cook who, is sending money back to Guatemala, I mean, it's just pathetic. And do you think the people in those communities are going to want to talk to some?
When I first started, I drove a truck for a little bit. When I first started driving a truck, the guy that I was with was from Mexico. He was a good guy, decent guy. He was like, it wasn't my trainer. Like, I went through a little school thing to be trained and licensed. It was just the guy that you had to ride with to make sure you knew all the company policies and you could actually drive. He verified you could drive, whatever. I think I was with him for 2 or 3 weeks. And he was basically on a truck driver salary, was supporting his entire family back home while they tried to get here by legal means. And he had his mom, his dad, his wife, his brothers and sisters. He had 3 nieces and a nephew. He was supporting everybody back home while they tried to, all of them come here. And his goal was to buy a truck. I fell out of touch with him, I guess. I don't speak to him anymore. And I don't know if he ever got that, but his goal was he was going to stop being a company driver and buy his own truck. I hope he got that accomplished. I don't know.
Someone from the Office of Investigations at ICE now? Do you think if they have information on someone doing human trafficking or whatever contraband, that they're going to go to ICE? No.
Absolutely not. They're not going to go anywhere near ICE after what they've been fucking terrorized with on social media.
In a lot of ways, I'm really thankful for my time at ICE because it helped me realize what good and bad law enforcement was. And I can tell you right now, ICE in Nashville is not good law enforcement. I don't talk about it a lot on this app.
By the way, someone in the comments says, my handyman is a legal, not illegal, legal immigrant from Guatemala. The saddest thing he said was, all of this is making people hate us here. And all we're trying to do is work and give our kids a better life. Which is pretty insane, right? Pretty radical, but whatever. And then there was this other comment. I don't know how true these comments are, right? They're just comments. But someone says, I live in an extremely agricultural-focused community, and our sheriff has flat out said he's not letting ICE take a single person out of a field or a restaurant or home. The farmers have a dedicated phone line to call directly to the sheriff if they see anything or anyone suspicious. So far, it's been effective. And to be in a heavy red area, it's interesting seeing how many of those red voters are standing against ICE. So who knows? That might be true. I did see a video with a sheriff pleading with workers in the field saying, hey, we're not doing it. We're not the people that are trying to deport you. We don't care. What we want you to know is that you can always come to us. We don't. So when you take a group and you build this mentality that if they speak to the police, that they'll be deported, that they'll be abused, that they'll be arrested, that they'll be sent home, whatever. First of all, crime doesn't get reported. Second of all, you've made that community susceptible to criminals. Criminal elements now know that they can probably fuck over that community, right? They can do fucked up things within that community, and then that community will not report them to the police because they're too terrified of getting deported, getting arrested, getting turned into ICE, right? So people that would take advantage of other people now can freely take advantage of them. What are the chances they're going to go to report it? You know what I'm saying? That's insane. All right. Speaking of boomers buying up all the houses, I just saw this guy. I meant to play it last night and I never got to it. I've told you guys that my generation and generations around me and younger were given this implied promise that if you worked hard, if you didn't get in trouble, right, you didn't end up in fucking prison or murder somebody or something, you did what you were supposed to do, you kept your nose clean, you worked hard, you went after it, that you could have this, your own little slice of the American dream, right? You have a house and a picket fence and kids you could afford, and you could buy fucking groceries, and you might not have brand new stuff, but you could have nice stuff eventually. And it seems like that's no longer the case, right? It seems like even if you work super hard, even if you have really good paying jobs, everything's priced out to oblivion. There's a video. I went to find this the other day and I never got to it. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it. What is that guy's name? Give me just a second. I shared it on my Facebook page, so let me go find it there. This is a mind-blowing statistic, I think, personally to me, that we believe that if we worked hard, we did these things, we did that, we did all these things, right, that we would have our own little slice of the American pie, whatever you want to call it. Oh, here it is. Let me grab this video. And I'll put it here. There you go.
How old a home?
So it's saying who's buying the houses. Somebody's buying houses, right? Houses are still selling. Who's the person that's buying them?
The housing market? Oh, yeah. You know how old a home buyer was in 2007 in America?
How old?
39 years of age, which means they were born in 1968.
So in 2007, the average age of a home buyer was 39 years old, meaning they were born in 1968. That's the average age of the home buyer, born in 1968. Across all home sales, they were 39 years old.
And they were buying homes in 2007. Now, if we flash forward to today, to 2025, do you know how old home buyers are in America?
How old are home buyers in America today?
The median age was 56 years old for people buying property in America.
Damn, so boomers real.
Wait, So you're telling me that 17 years has passed since 2007, right? Has it been 17 years since 2000? Yes. And during that same time frame, the median age of a home buyer also went up 17 years? Oh, shoot.
So in 2007, the average age of a home buyer was 39 and born in 1968. Today, the average age of a home buyer went up 17 years from 2007. That's 17. And they're still born in 1960. It's the same people. The same people that did really well when housing was cheap and bought up houses 17 years later are the same people that are buying right the fuck now.
Which means the largest group of people buying homes in 2007 were born in 1968. And the people who are buying a home today were born in 1968. Yeah.
I don't want to wait till I'm 56 to buy a home.
What are you now, like 35 or 31? Shut up, I'm not old. Just saying. Are boomers ruining the house?
That's an insane statistic. The average home buyer in 2007 was born in 1968. The average home buyer in 2025 was born in 1960. That shouldn't have changed some. That shouldn't, the age shouldn't have, right? Even if the age would have stayed the same. If the average home buyer was 39 in 2007 and the average home buyer in 2025 was 39, that's fine. But the fact that they're 56 and they were born in 1968 in both scenarios is wild. It is boomers that played the market right, that had the money, that had the capital, that had the right time, that did everything right, that are selling their homes and buying bigger, better homes now. And everybody younger than that can't afford shit. He does a bunch of other depressing videos too, like, here's one. This is Zachary Loft, by the way. We watched him before.
But how many more affordable homes do we have to build to satisfy the taste of investors who have unlimited funding? There's systemic things we have to do. Limit the number of single-family homes that can be owned by any one LLC and ban institutional investors. Why don't we completely cut out private equity from investing in single-family homes altogether and prevent LLCs from owning them? We can invest in apartments and condos and other...
Boomer is not does not just mean baby boomer. I know baby boomer probably ended around 65 or something. It just means older people on the internet now.
Items, not single-family homes. We need to build more affordable homes. Yes, but how many more affordable homes do we have to build to satisfy the taste of investors who have unlimited funding? There's systemic things we have to do. Limit the number of...
How many homes could you build to satisfy investors that have unlimited funding? Well, you can't. You have to do something else if they're going to be investing in it.
Single-family homes that can be owned by any one LLC and ban institutional investors. Why don't we completely...
This wasn't the video we were focused on, by the way. I don't know. It's bad right now for housing. But let's go back to this video because we were talking about the people who did the right things, right? Maybe you went to college and got a degree and got a well-paying job. Those people are still struggling too. Like this guy. This guy's fucking pissed, but rightfully so, to be honest with you.
I'm 41 years old. I went to school for 8 years and paid back 80 grand in student loans to become a physical therapist with a doctoral degree.
So he's a doctorate. He's got a doctoral degree. He paid back all of his student loan already. And you know, he makes good money.
I've been making six figures for 12 years now. Long time, whole boat.
So 12 years of six figures. Paid back his schooling. He's good to go, right?
Load of money. I am broke. Our mortgage, we're lucky enough to own a home. Our mortgage is not an overtly huge percentage of our income. We're not big spenders. We don't even spend on vacations because another piece of privilege is I married into a family that actually has a vacation home on a beach or near a beach. It's very nice. We don't pay to stay there. We're not big spenders. We drive 2 used cars.
I hope that's a fish tank in the background or something, and he's not like taking a piss this whole video, but I can't be sure.
And the cost of living has nearly forced us to sell our house and move in with my mother-in-law, I guess. I don't know. I didn't go to school for as long as I did and pay back 80 grand in student loans so that I could be broke. This economy is horseshit. It's absolute horseshit. Every day I wake up, I seethe with anger. And I work in home health and I drive through the countryside and I see gorgeous, 3, 4, 5,000 square foot houses. They're being built brand new and they're being built by boomers. Yeah. Because nobody who's 41 years old right now has $500,000, 750 grand to spend on a brand new house. The average American household income is like 75 grand. The average American income for a household needed to buy a house is around 125 grand.
Now, if you take it out and extrapolate this, right, from like the 70s, what you needed to buy a house, and even for inflation and the change of how much a dollar's worth or whatever, instead of going from like needing $30,000, making $30,000 a year to making like $70,000 a year for the average house, it has almost tripled.
It's insanity. The only reason that I actually have been prevented from selling our house is because of TikTok. I have another account with, it's coming up on 190,000 followers. My wife and I randomly had a video get 32 million views. And overnight, we were...
Imagine being a physical therapist, making six figures for the last, almost 15 years. And without TikTok, you would lose your fucking home.
Creators. And at that moment, it was an absolute life preserver that we started making money from our content. TikTok has kept us, and we do monetize on YouTube as well, but not nearly to the degree of TikTok. TikTok has kept me from having to sell my house. If you'd have fucking told me when I was in school, when I was at the classroom building downtown, studying at midnight and probably into the early morning for a test the next day or the day after that, hey, one day, the only reason you won't have to sell your house because of the cost of living is because of this social media app that you're going to make videos on, and people are going to watch them. And
there are goddamn retards in the comments. I read them the first time I watched this video saying, hey man, it's time to buckle down and get a second job. The motherfucker went to school for 8 years and got a good job, so he didn't have to work second jobs. So he didn't have to work on the side. So he didn't have to do this shit. Buckle down and get a second job? He's a goddamn doctor. I know that there is a doctor at the VA. He and his wife both work at the VA. I think they're separated now. Hell, they opened a fucking clinic outside after hours. They opened a fucking clinic to make money.
That's the only reason you won't have to sell your house. And I haven't talked about any of this directly to this point.
This is why I hate asking for like people to support the show and donations. Like, I know, obviously, I'm not like in a bubble where we're struggling and nobody else is. I think everybody's fucking feeling it. And it's not because you're living beyond your means. It's not because you're frivolous with your money. It's not because you don't budget. Everything fucking is more expensive now, and it fucking sucks.
Because I guess the tariffs today doing what they're doing to the stock market, and on top of that, China pushing the pause button on the TikTok deal because of the tariffs against the Chinese, the nation of China. It put me over the edge today. So I really hate it here. And again, let me make sure you guys understand. I'm a straight, white, raised in church guy. People like me run the world. I get that. There's a whole lot of privilege behind what I'm saying, but wow. What a shitty way for this all to have turned out. If you'd have told 18-year-old me,
dude, the guy sounds like he's on the verge of killing himself.
Yeah, you're gonna get a doctorate in the healthcare field. Give me a physical.
Yeah, that's what's crazy. Flat broke, have a great job, broke paycheck to paycheck. Yeah. I don't know. It sucks.
therapist. You're gonna help a lot of sick people get well. Oh, by the way, by the time you're 41, you won't be able to fix your own car. I had to borrow money from my parents last fall when a hurricane came 300 miles inland and it damaged my roof. I did not have the money to pay the insurance premium so that my house could be repaired.
Yeah, GPUs are insane. Thankfully, I've got one that I think will last me a few. Streaming's extremely GPU intensive, especially when you have all the animation and stuff going on. Thankfully, I got some stuff going on.
And then my car needed a lot of work done to it. Don't have the money for that. My dad just so happens to be, another piece of privilege, just so happens to be a brilliant mechanic. And he fixed it. And, I'm going to pay him back for the parts, but he's saying, don't worry about paying me back for the labor. Probably $1,000 in labor. It's roughly $1,500 to fix my car, which I use for work. Yeah. So unless people keep watching our videos on this app, on that other account, we're going to have to sell this motherfucker. Also, I have high cholesterol, and I got put on 10 milligrams of rosuvastatin, which has cut my LDL cholesterol in half, thank God, because I don't want to die of a stroke in my 50s or a heart attack. But I'll just bet the stress of this entire financial situation has contributed to that. But there's no time for that. Got to go back to work. So, I don't know. The president signed a 75-day extension because the China pushed pause on the deal. I don't know. Other millennials, you let me know in the comments, man. I know it's not going well. It's not going well. I can't buy my wife a present when I want to. I can't buy my daughter a present when I want to. There's no money. There's no money.
I'm assuming he lives in a place where the cost of living is extremely high.
Awesome.
Insane. That was a pinned video. When was that pinned video posted?
41 years old.
4-4.
Donald Trump can't fix an
That's
economy.
5-17. Doctor second job, that's what they should call him. This is probably after it.
I will always make at least twice that.
It's still a ways off. We're getting closer though. All right, we're getting close because these are a lot of responses to it. Damn, he made a lot of response videos. It's good for engagement, though. Let's see how far we are back now. 4:11. So, yeah, I'm sure a bunch of these are response videos to that. All of these fucking response videos. Let's see. Let's start in here. All right, so we're back far enough now. See if he's getting any updates. Or I answered some of the questions that you guys are asking. We should be on some here.
I appreciate your pragmatism, but this is not what...
So this says, make a snack, live in a smaller house. We live very comfortably and invest and own a home on $80K a year. Cost of living, agreed. It sucks, but either adapt or be miserable.
We were promised in the 90s when I had just entered high school. It's the principle of it. I understand how to be pragmatic, okay? I had a car.
Someone said, what stopped you from setting aside $500,000 a month every month while making six figures all the years? Student loans. Just got them paid off. $80,000 worth of student loans.
Given to me when I was still in physical therapy school. It was a 97 Buick LeSabre, and it had the 3.8 liter General Motors V6 that they put in a bunch of those Buicks and Cadillacs and Chevrolets and all that. If you change the oil in that motor and take care of it, it will run forever.
So I drove it until it died. We've never had a car payment. That's what I'm telling y'all. We've never paid for lodging on a vacation. It's not about if I know how to be pragmatic, brother. You know, this economy is screwing the middle class. When I bought into the plan to build a life for myself, there was a middle class, and I knew I was going to be part of it. And just slowly over time, I'm just bleeding out from a gash to my femoral artery. You know, this isn't what we signed up for. Not at all. And it's perfectly appropriate for me to point that out, because the wealth creation engine that existed for my parents no longer exists for me. And I would like to thank the United States federal government and the top 1% for destroying the American dream. It's time to eat the rich.
Dave Ramsey is a Christian nationalist
The Dave Ramsey plan.
who subscribes to right-wing authoritarian politics. He may, I guess, understand money.
Dave Ramsey doesn't own so many houses he can't even remember how many he owns, right? God owns them. They're not his. They're God's.
But he doesn't understand kindness or empathy or compassion. Dave Ramsey is not really a Christian, in my opinion, because he doesn't even understand generosity or poor people. Dave Ramsey went bankrupt before he stumbled into Financial Peace University and became the darling of evangelical Christians everywhere. I escaped the cult of evangelical Christianity back in 2017. Dave is just lucky. He's not that smart. I've always lived within my means. I already do that. Dave doesn't have anything to teach me. No, I blame the United States federal government and the top 1%. For a minute there, after what Luigi did, we all started to see it's not left versus right, it's rich versus poor. But we have to keep our focus. I'll blame Trump for whatever is his fault. I'll blame Joe Biden for whatever is his fault. I'll blame George W. Bush for whatever was his fault. I'll blame Obama. I don't care who it is. I'll blame anybody who's in elected office that propagates the destruction of the middle class. You know, we have all this chaos, you know, from a legal standpoint with all the executive orders from the Trump White House and, you know, deportations and, you know, the Speaker of the House wanting to overrule the judicial system and blah, 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 blah. And at the same time, I get ads on YouTube from Senator Chris Murphy and Senator John Ossoff asking for campaign donations. And I just wish there was the capacity to leave a comment on an ad to say, shut the fuck up. I don't have any money to give you anyway. Not that I would. Y'all haven't fixed anything since the chaos of this year started. And they want to ask people for money. I'm like, what are you doing right now? What are we getting for the...
I want to see what question he is.
My dad is the son of a man.
Answered.
Works in the switching yard for CSX out in Spartanburg, South Carolina. He would drive...
I've been to Spartanburg.
...from roughly 45 minutes to an hour away to work the third shift at that switching yard just to get an opportunity to hopefully get on a train as a conductor, which he successfully did. And he retired from CSX as a conductor. My dad walked into a chemical manufacturing plant at 19 years old in the late 70s, and he walked out for the last time 42 years later. He worked shift work for 25 years, and he finally was able to get to a day job at the same plant. He's just about to retire now. He caught on with some other industrial manufacturing type outfits. My mother grew up poor as dirt. There were roaches crawling across her black and white TV screen as a child. She was the first person in her family out of 5 or 6 kids to finish high school, including both of her parents. Neither of them finished high school. She was the first one to finish college. She went back to get her teaching degree. She graduated at the age of 30 after she'd had 3 small children. At one point, my parents were in $70,000.
And the destruction of pension is a big thing as well.
Of credit card debt, which they paid off miraculously. My dad's job at the time had a company improvement program where if an employee submitted an idea that saved the company money, they would get a cut of that money. My dad was able to pay off a huge chunk of that credit card debt by getting paid tens of thousands of dollars for ideas that he submitted. And the last idea of which probably saved the company $100,000, which they never paid him. They changed the parameters of the program to avoid paying my dad. That company still owes my dad roughly $100,000. Okay. My first job after I got my bachelor's degree was pulling weeds on a hillside behind a townhome complex that was under construction. It was a 45-degree angle slope down towards a tree line. It was roughly a quarter acre.
I think you guys, I didn't even know what a fucking pension was. I had to look it up. Like, I've never even heard of a job with a fucking pension. Had to, like, or been offered a job with a pension or been anywhere that said, oh, we have a pension plan. They got to look at, I just thought it was another version of 401k, right?
Of sod that had been laid on that hillside that was contaminated with weeds. It was nothing but weeds. I pulled every weed and dumped them in the woods beyond that tree line with a wheelbarrow. That was my first job with a college degree before I got into physical therapy school. Now, knowing all that, how much of a fucking victim do you think I can play? How much lying do you think I'm willing to do now that you know where the fuck I come from? It's the top 1% and the federal government that are destroying the middle class, and it's time to eat the rich. I'm not acting like a victim. I'm telling you what the fucking score is.
There it is.
I am a man.
As a man, get a second job.
just in case you couldn't notice,
Possibly a third till the economy turns around.
second job.
There you go.
It's making content with my wife on this app, which we have monetized to a very high degree. And we're very lucky and very thankful to have done that. I also have a third job. It's the podcast that I do with my wife that is also monetized. Would you like me to get a fourth job or a fifth job? Or why don't I just sell a goddamn kidney on the black market? Where does it stop? Do you think that I went to school for...
The military doesn't call it a pension plan. You have TSP, which is savings plan, and then you have retirement. Those are the two things they talk about.
8 years and paid back 80 grand in student loans so that I could technically have 3 jobs just
It is a pension. I mean, I guess it's guaranteed retirement right after 20 years of service.
to meet the cost of living. Y'all got to zoom out, okay? In the late 90s, when I started high school, none of this was going on. I'm sorry, it was not. We, in the middle class, are being played for fools. And it's time to eat the rich. I have done everything I can to provide for my family, just like my dad did, working shift work for 25 years. He was
The first place I heard about a pension plan didn't call it a pension plan, right? It was like working for municipalities, and they told me I could roll my good years of military time into a guaranteed retirement plan through the state. But they actually fucked up because they stopped it. They changed it the year before I got hired there, or like what they approved to change it the year before I got hired there, but it just kicked in like 3 months before I got hired, and it was a guaranteed pension program through the state for any municipality workers.
Subscribed for 2 months, even with all the abuse I take from Will.
Thank you for the resubscription. But I actually wasn't eligible for it. They went to a 401k match when I started. Well, actually, like 3 months before I started.
was always tired. He would work an overnight shift, come to my baseball game, instead of going back home to sleep, and then go back to work. That's the life he was living because he loves his children. I saw him do that, and I decided within myself, I'm never going to have to live that life. But now I'm inching closer
It's all abuse from here on out. You might as well get out early.
and closer to it every day, and that is wrong. Brother, I am a man.
Minimum wages, I could not imagine. I don't know what's still paying minimum wage because I see like, like even McDonald's is advertising for like $11, $12 an hour where I live. So I don't know what's still paying a minimum wage. I couldn't imagine making $7.25 a fucking hour.
Making that
My parents are boomers and made $150K in the 90s with factory jobs. You would need $300K today to equal the lifestyle we had. Your dollar today is 50% of what it was 5 years ago. This is insanity.
kind of living in manufacturing in the United States is going extinct.
You used to be able to be a goddamn single working adult and be the fucking milkman and buy a house, right? Any fucking factory. If you worked there, saved a little bit of money, you could buy a home. You just can't do that anymore.
That life does not exist anymore. My dad walked into a chemical manufacturing plant at 19 years old. He walked out for the last time 42 years later. Those jobs are gone. You can't find those anymore because manufacturing doesn't happen in the U.S. anymore.
I could imagine $7.25 in an area that regularly accepts tips. But hell, those people are only required to pay them like $3 or some shit.
Somehow, we have a lot of, right-wingers who believe that like manufacturing's coming back. No, it's not. No, it's not. Because the top 1% don't want it to come back. And so it will not. Okay? Just because it's a talking point for a political candidate who happened to get elected. Do you think they're going to tell the 1% what to do? No, friend. The 1% tell elected officials what to do. The 1% have enough money to buy congressmen. That's America. We don't live in a representative democracy. We live in a capitalist oligarchy. The golden rule.
I don't think that wages have kept up with anything, really. Yeah, I just Googled it. It says a minimum wage worker in the United States would have to work 106 hours per week to afford median rent. That's 2.6 full-time jobs. 2.5 full-time jobs at 40 hours a week.
Is whoever has the gold makes the rules. A line made famous by Jafar in the Disney movie Aladdin. Becoming a physical therapist was a great idea. It's a great idea. It's a great job. You can't beat it with a stick. I was getting job offers in the mail during my first year of physical therapy school. Okay. I've been making a ton of money and have had a ton of professional flexibility, and recently negotiated a pay raise with my current job by getting an offer from another company. I'll probably be able to do that again in a few months. No, it's not the choice of occupation. I made a great choice in that regard. Where do you get this from? Becoming a physical...
I would imagine physical therapy is probably a pretty decent job.
Yeah, you're 71. You were born 71.
I made $30K a year, not broke, paid off a house early at age 35. Now 71. That's why I'm fine. No debt.
1 years ago.
God damn.
As if everything is just like it used to be. Paid off my house early at age 35. How much did it cost? How much did it cost 36 years ago? 60 grand? 70 grand? David, are you serious, man? This is why you boomers get such a terrible reputation. You all, I've never seen a group of people who are so dumb, but have also amassed an absurd amount of wealth and savings and pensions and multiple retirements. You're all so full of shit, and you don't understand anything about the world. You're terrified of technology. You're terrified of anything in the world changing. You can't imagine that the world we live in now isn't the world from when you were our age that we are now. This is why there are so many boomer cliches. Okay, boomer. You guys just keep holding up the stereotype. And it would be really, really funny if it wasn't.
First of all, kiss my ass. It's a primal scream for the skilled, specialized job that I have, not being able to pay for the cost of living currently in America. That's what it is. My first job after finishing my bachelor's degree was pulling weeds behind a townhome complex, probably a quarter acre of weeds, by hand, and then dumping them in the woods with a wheelbarrow. Let me tell you something right now, motherfucker. I know how to work. I know how to work. I put in my share of sweat outside, yard work, digging ditches, all sorts of shit. I can put in with any motherfucker who does manual labor right now. So can my dad. He taught me that. At one point at my previous job, I had 13 weeks of paid time off accrued. That happened because I know how to fucking work. I don't want a sweet, easy gig. I just want my skill set, my education, my licensure to earn me enough money to have the life that I was promised I would have. That's all I'm looking for. I'm looking for what I am due. But don't you fucking dare come in my comments telling me I don't know how to work.
See, it started.
Are you kidding? Making a little above minimum wage with 4 kids, 1 car, 950 square feet, homemade everything, no ETRS or services or eating out or Starbucks, please.
Off with, don't buy that vacation home. Don't go on that third cruise. And then it was, don't go on that really expensive vacation. Or don't buy that third car. And now it's, quit buying avocado toast. Stop drinking Starbucks, you damn kids with your rock music. You guys are such a joke. You think that Starbucks, getting coffee, you think that is the root of all our economic issues. You do not live in the real world. Delete your account. See, it started off with, don't buy that.
I want to see if he gives more detail about it.
The MAGA trucker 2024 doesn't buy it. No shit, bro. No shit. Oh my God. If there was a gold medal for predictability, you would win it every year. I mean, kiss my ass, bro. Give me a break. The MAGA trucker 2024 doesn't buy it. Oh my God, yes.
I understand, right? You're probably not supposed to hold a minimum wage job forever. But some people, I mean, it's got to lead to something, right? You can't just tell them, oh, you're only supposed to hold this job for a few years while you're, getting your feet underneath you or while you're in school or whatever. But then they do those things, and then there's nowhere to go from there. They can't just quit their job.
I can't believe I'm talking with another person.
It says G12 out of MCI in Bogota. Our pastor got pretty close with the Bogota leaders. Such a cult. Wish I'd left sooner. This might be, he must have been raised maybe in a cult or something.
Who knows what G12 is, okay? So
I'm not as interested in that.
I made a video a couple days ago talking about how this economy and the cost of living is basically eating my paycheck alive and inching us further and further towards having to sell our house that we own. By the way,
I'm not trying to blame Trump for everything either. I think this has been a long time coming. The middle class is eroding, right? You're either in a class where you have to have government assistance, which they're also cutting, or you're in a class so far above that you don't have concerns like normal fucking humans.
The mortgage, we are homeowners. You're still a homeowner if you have a mortgage. Some of you were tripping over that in the comments of that video. Like, it's just semantics, man. I am a homeowner. I'm not renting. I own this place, even though I have a mortgage. That's the language that we've used to describe these things for decades. Anyways, and some of you in the comments are like, you must be doing something wrong. I make less than you, and I paid off my house, and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, do your kids call you back? Do your kids call you back? Like those kids that you raised? Even if you had, some of you are jumping in the comments, and you're single.
You're not even married, let alone have children, and you're comparing your financial situation to mine. I'm sorry. No. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul. But like, do your kids call you back? If you paid off all, you paid off your house in the
It's probably got kids in college.
or whatever the hell, and it was 70 grand. Do your kids call you back? The ones that you raised in that $70,000 home? Because you could be a trillionaire, but if your kids don't call you back, you're broke. So that's another, core value I'm not willing to negotiate. So many of you in the comments, though, like, I can just tell by your vibe. Your kids don't like you. So hope this helps. So I made a video a couple days ago. There are so many of you in the comments to this video.
I was listening. No, this is going to sound crazy. But I was listening to an audiobook earlier today. And it's obviously it was like in a fantasy type world. But in this world, basic needs are met like at the complete basic level, right? If like you start out with like basic clothing, food, and like a basic shack, right? And instead of using money, they use like a credit system. So like if you contribute to society, you got some type of credit system to buy things, including your kids going to school, earn credit for their family. It was such I listened to it over and over again because it was such a weird, complex system. It was like a fantasy thing they were trying to set up. But it did sound interesting that all basic needs were met for everybody. And you could be a shitbag and you'd have the most basic of basic things, right? A shack that's, got a roof over your head, basic clothing, basic food, basic everything. But the goal was everybody strive to get better things, right? So to contribute to society to get better things.
That are attributing the entire situation to a single president, to a single elected official. And I got to tell you guys, it is so much deeper than that. It's so much deeper than that. If you by name blame Joe Biden or blame Donald Trump or simply blame Ronald Reagan or whoever else you want to put out there, okay, you are not equipped to contribute to the solution. You're not. You don't understand all the layers that go on to the American.
What's up, Dr. J?
You can't help.
So I wonder how much debt he has with his kids probably in college.
Taxes. I owe the government almost $2,000. My parents did their taxes. They're both 66 years old. My dad will retire later this year. They got a refund of $3,000. Make it make sense. I did my taxes.
Well, it depends on what I don't. It depends on what you paid in.
I owe the government
and how much you made. What bracket you're in.
Deals are out there, y'all. Deals are out there.
I purchased a house 33 years ago for $25,000. Put $45,000 in to make it livable. Paid 8%. I sold the property better than the one I lived in 4 years ago for $80,000 at 6%. Deals are out there. I'm 54.
I tell you what, you just got to find them deals. You got to find them deals.
This is one thing that I hate. People call into Dave Ramsey sometimes, and I know people have used Dave Ramsey to like consolidate debt. I get that. The snowball method or whatever he has. But he's kind of a piece of shit on everything else. So I saw someone called into Dave Ramsey. And they're like, well, I live here. I make this much. They made a decent amount of money, right? I think it was right around $100,000. They don't really have any debt. They had a car payment and their rent and shit. And they're like, I cannot buy a house. I think they're in Connecticut. He has his person that's like helping him, right? His Jamie, right? Look up houses in Connecticut. Finds one like 3.5 hours away from where they fucking live, work, where all their family, everything is. 3.5 hours away. And it's like, oh, well, this one's only such and such. You can afford that one. And they're like, that's 3.5 hours away. Well, sometimes you got to make sacrifices. What? The only reason I have access to this good job and I have the support system with my family being around and shit is because I'm here.
Deals, what you got to do. Here's what you got to do. You got to get out there. You got to find them deals. Okay? That's all you got to do. All you got to do is get in a time machine, go back 33 years, find you a deal. Okay? I'll be your Huckleberry. You just need a deal.
The biggest mistake we made, the biggest mistake that my generation made that I can find across the board, unless you like your family was super well, unless you're in that top income bracket, right? Is that we weren't born in the fucking 60s.
Yes.
I'm obsessed with buying something before I fucking die and leaving it to my kids. My parents probably could have bought a house, didn't, right? They rented from start to finish. Every place I've ever lived in was rented. And they probably could have afforded a house and bought 2 houses over, I don't know. But they never did. And that is a big generational wealth thing, right? Leaving something to your children. I don't blame them, right? They did their thing, but I'm obsessed with leaving something for my kids, even if it's an empty piece of land. That's all I can get at the end of it, right? And they have to split it in half with something.
You know what? Another thing. You just need to find a deal. You just find you a deal and everything will be all right. Okay? Deals are out there, y'all.
This video is for Elon Musk and Doge.
Yeah, bro.
Physical therapy's overrated.
Until you have a fucking knee replacement. And then it's going to be the reason you're not disabled after the fact.
They've attacked everything about him. His job, his spending habits, his house, his hair, they've attacked everything about him now.
The reason you can wipe your ass after...
He's still standing strong with them.
Just a second there, Professor. Commenting on my video will bring you more of my videos. See, this website, it's called TikTok, and it has this thing called an algorithm that responds to how you behave on this app. If it sees you interacting with a particular video, like just hypothetically, let's say it was mine, the algorithm now thinks you really like my videos, so it's going to bring you more of them. Hope this helps if you're really... Say hello to Vladimir Putin, our Lord and Savior, you Russian bot piece of shit. The Confederate flag is a nice touch in the PFP, but overall, in summation, go fuck yourself. Say hello to Vladimir Putin, our Lord and Savior, you Russian bot piece of shit. The Confederate flag is a nice touch in the PFP, but...
I've had
a couple run-ins with people associated with Economic Ninja. I don't care for him at all. I think for a while there, he was on the verge of like QAnon bullshit. Like, I can't stand him. I listened and I was sympathetic until you started blaming a certain generation. I'm not part of that generation, but I'm not part of any generation that considers themselves a victim. Victim?
tons of Vietnam veterans as my patients. I work in home health care. The vast majority of those guys are sick from chemical exposure, Agent Orange, all that fun stuff. Not to mention the heavy-duty psychiatric things that they carry with them since those times. And at that time, nobody cared about mental health care. PTSD wasn't even a term that people were using, I don't think.
The nicest house we ever stayed in when I was young, my parents stayed in it till I was gone out on the road working. And then they lost it because my dad got laid off, was $500 a month rent. $500 a month rent. The same thing, the same exact house right now is renting for $2,200 a month. I'm sure they went in and made upgrades or whatever, but it's the same house, same place, same neighborhood, same everything. $2,200 a month.
I think. And when these guys were drafted and sent over to this foreign country, they were children. They were babies. I look at pictures that these folks have of, when they were deployed, and they're kids. They're kids. So an entire generation of these guys, they're victims of John F. Kennedy and Lyndon Johnson, trying to, exert military force against communism.
Sage did work with Economic Ninja. If he was here, he would tell you for a while until it went to that. What was that other guy that Sage used to hang out? He was something prepper, and he sold the silver and like Phil Silver deal. He's also a welder. The guy's a welder. He always did videos in his shop. Those two guys went as well. The prepper guy went basically full QAnon, and then Economic Ninja, because they were close, he started spouting some QAnon bullshit.
Or whatever the hell we were trying to do over there. And it was a dumpster fire. If I were to tell a Vietnam veteran that they have a victim mentality, do you think that would be correct? That would be appropriate? No, because they actually are. Those are the facts. And at the risk of comparing, my generation to the guys that went to Vietnam, that's not a fair comparison. It's not the same thing. But the principle of it is, I don't have a victim mentality. I'm just calling it like it is. I still have 100% agency for myself, but I'm simply describing the situation as it actually is. And boomers are hysterical. I work with boomers on a daily basis, and they're, the Fox News.
Bon, cutie patootie. Okay.
Is permanently burned into the lower
Sounds good.
Of their old school.
It's Pride Month.
They don't understand anything about propaganda, about rhetoric, about sales tactics. They don't understand anything about technology. Okay, so this is a common joke about boomers, that they all have lead poisoning. Millennials are tired because of...
I wanted to see if he ever addressed his kids.
About
which employee from Ramsey Solutions runs this account.
Just got back from a cruise with Dave, met him personally many times, ate dinner with him. This guy knows nothing about Dave. Dave is incredibly generous and knowledgeable.
Give me a break. If you really love Dave Ramsey and you've met him personally several times and you had dinner with him and it was really great, that's because you guys think the exact same way. You share right-wing authoritarian politics. You share the same myopic view of wealth in America. Incredibly generous and knowledgeable. Okay, sure. Whatever you say. Which employee from Ramsey Solutions runs this account?
It's hard for people to exist away from a city, right? I exist away from a city. There's no fucking jobs here. There are no like, I get aggravated sometimes because it's all old people, and basically the dream is to grow up, go to college or get a job and get the fuck away from here, because you're not going to hold a good job here. We had the railroad for a while. It's shut down. We had an insulation factory and ball bearing factories. They're shut down. We have a tire plant where you go in and come out looking like you just got a case of the black lung for $13, $14 an hour. Like, there just aren't jobs here. It sucks.
First of all, kiss my ass. My dad and I have done all of the auto work that we've ever needed since I was born to present day. He was just over here last night helping me swap out a broken garbage disposal. We know how to do some shit too. But the difference between me and you, red, white, and blue collar, by God, red, white, and blue collar, make America great again. The difference between me and you is I have empathy. I have a fully developed prefrontal cortex that allows me to see how ideology that is toxic eventually can lead to harmful things and terrible things happening in the world. So congratulations on being able to fix your car. So do yeah, I might not have all the skills needed. Is your PhD in starting shit with people on the internet that you don't know or understand?
I wouldn't call having a PhD a stupid person, but at least I could fix it myself without help. Thanks for your input.
Doctor too, but one of us assumes that because they have more practical, fix-it-yourself skills, that makes them better than everybody else. Hope this helps. Is your PhD in starting shit with people on the internet that you don't know or understand? You're 100% correct, doctor. Thank you for being...
Red, white, and blue collar has a PhD, a doctorate. I very seriously doubt that. I'm a physician too. The fact they don't like a PE admission is medically necessary, or they don't think a PE admission is medically necessary is insane to me. They don't have the medical training to justify that. Laws need to change now.
Being brave and forthright for trying...
I just want to see if he updated about how much he spends on his kids.
Fuck you, Steve. Oh, you... No, it's really funny how many... I thought you said you're not... The House of Representatives just...
Maybe he doesn't give any more updates. Oh, wait, what was that?
Well, yeah, if...
Weird too. Blue-collar workers, we own a home and a vacation home. No mortgages, no car payments, retiring at 55. Not sure what you're doing wrong, but I suspect bad money management.
I'm calling bullshit on all that. You own 2 houses. You have no car payments, and you're retiring early. Which Mexican drug cartel do you clean money for? This is bullshit. Yeah, I'm calling bullshit on all that. You own 2 houses. You have no car payment. Well, yeah, if these guys are union and they get on with a government-funded project like a nuclear power plant or something like Savannah Riverside, which is near where I live, yeah, you can make really good money. But the thing about those operations is they're government projects. They have a start date and an end date, usually, unless they get really behind. Like, for example, at Plant Vogel down here in Georgia, they're a year, 2 years behind on getting their 2 new reactors built. And all of these skilled laborers, they're union, they're journeymen, they got bonuses for completing things ahead of schedule, and they were working so fast that they did so many things wrong and couldn't pass inspection. So they had to undo a crap ton of stuff, and it took them a year, 2 years longer than they were supposed to finish that project. Like, the sheer amount of chaos involved with those trades, it was a hard pass for me. And also, it could be done. It could be done in the past. Now, it cannot. I've decided to start making moonshine to keep up with the cost of living. My first car after I finished school was a 97 Buick LeSabre.
It can be done, but you need to live on bare minimum. No fancy cars, no fancy trucks, and a manufactured home. We are conditioned to be consumed. So you're telling me, like, you gotta pay cash for a used car, both of you, and you have to live in a goddamn trailer as a fucking doctor?
With like 180,000, 200,000 miles on it. The roof leaked. When you sat at a stop sign or a red light, the speedometer would be jumping all over the place. There was something wrong with the electrical on the dashboard. The AC control unit would randomly flip the AC up to the defrost vents, just randomly. And when you live in the Deep South, you need to have AC in a car that works unless you want to smell like ass all the time. It was a beater, and I rode that car until it died. I replaced the transmission in it because it was actually given to my family, and I drove it while I was still in physical therapy school. I've resisted that a lot. I know what you mean. I'm
saying he probably lives in a place that probably has a higher cost of living. I don't know where he lives at. He said near the Savannah Riverside, so he lives in Georgia. Plant Vogel. I'm not calling BS on it. Like, I understand there's a big squeeze on the middle class, and people would say he's living above his means, but I guarantee he wasn't 10 years ago when he bought his home. Everything was fine. So what's changed? He didn't refinance his home, right? He's been getting regular raises. So what the fuck changed? The expense, the cost of everything.
And still, here we are. Evangelical Christians are programmed. The first job that I had after I graduated from college, my undergraduate degree, was pulling weeds on a quarter acre of the back hillside behind a townhome complex that was still under construction. I did it because I needed to make some cash and I wasn't going to sit around. So I pulled weeds. Fuck you. I know how to work. All the millennials know how to work. You guys keep retreating to this stupid line. There's a whole generation. Nobody wants to work anymore. Nobody wants to work anymore. If I wanted to be an electrician, I would have been a goddamn electrician. I would have been an electrical engineer. I'd have gone to fucking Georgia Tech or University of South Carolina. I would have been your goddamn boss. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be a physical therapist, so that's what I did. So take this generation is too good for blue collar work and shove it up your ass. The numbers just keep getting lower. I retired at 55.
Now 43. No drugs or college degree. House in Hawaii and California, 0. I think people are trolling him now.
I retired at 51. I retired at 49. I retired at 43. I retired at 27. I retired at the age of 6. I retired at the age of 6. I've never actually been to work. I'm allergic to work. I own 17 houses. I make $1.7 million from my United Auto Workers pension, for which I've never done a day of work in my life.
All right, I don't know if he gives any more updates about his situation.
Summer of 22.
If they are retiring early, is because you have not experienced a devastating health emergency that sapped your savings.
20. My 4-year-old daughter at the time had emergency surgery. She had what's called a Meckel's diverticulum, which is when the tissue right under your belly button doesn't fully differentiate into intestinal tissue, and it has a habit of ulcerating and causing internal bleeding into your gut. That's what she had. It's extremely simple to fix. It's a very simple surgery. Several thousands of dollars out of pocket on that one. The ambulance ride from an ER to a children's hospital that was an hour away was a $2,000 charge that I negotiated down to $1,300 out of pocket because the ambulance service was out of network. I'm a physical therapist. My wife is an RN. We literally could have put her in our car and driven from the ER to the hospital.
I like to fix my own shit. I'm not always great at it, but I like to at least try. My dad was a mechanic by trade. My papa was a mechanic by trade. The problem is they're trying to make things to where you can't fix them. You can't even work on them.
From blood loss, but she was stable. We could have done it ourselves. 2021, I had my gallbladder taken out. I go in to see the surgeon for our first face-to-face. He palpates my abdomen. He has to roll my shirt up and he just gently presses on my abdomen. He pushes right above my belly button and says, "Oh, you got a hernia there." I said, "Excuse me, sir?" He said, "Yeah, you got a hernia right there." He says, "No problem. We'll go in through the hernia, take the gallbladder out, and then we'll come on the way out. We'll fix the hernia so you get as new." I was like, "That's fantastic. Thank you." He said, "You're going to be out of work for 6 weeks." And my job as a physical therapist does not have light duty. Now, thankfully, because I know how to work hard, boomers, are you paying attention? I had 13 weeks of paid time off saved up. But the trouble with my job at that point is they changed our...
The price on the houses went up 45% in 9 years.
During COVID, they reduced our salaries by 20% and increased our overproductivity or overtime bonus a certain amount to make up for it. So that if you were doing the same amount of work, you roughly made the same. But of course, it's not really true because they're reducing our base pay. I didn't go to school for the degree. I went to school for the professional licensure as a physical therapist. You have to have a PT license to do physical therapy in the U.S. I wasn't foolish or naive going to... Yeah, this isn't true anymore.
My dad retired at 49, small town Iowa, 2,500 square foot house, was $40K in 1984. He invested in rental properties. He worked for the state for 25 years and had a pension, has passive income over 6 figures now. Yeah, good luck.
It does not happen anymore. If it does happen, it happens to such a small degree that it's insignificant. Of course he worked for the state. Of course he got a state pension. Passive income that is equal to mine. Passive income, bro. 2,500 square feet for 40 grand in 1984. I mean, just any of you boomers or Gen Xers who just want to, pile on and say, "No, it's possible, man. You got to manage your money better, by God. Make America great again." I want you to see this comment. This is for you. Passive income of 100 grand now. Retired at 49, not 50, 49, brother. I mean, I'm not equating blue collar with low income. No, I'm equating the current financial climate that now does not have these opportunities. And it doesn't have them in enough of an abundance to move the needle. You guys are losing the plot. Good on.
We're about to move on, sorry.
And left you a house.
We owned 2 homes, had 3, but sold my late mother-in-law's in 2023, then invested that money. We have 4 vehicles, 2 teens, have 0 vehicle payments, 0 debt, strict budget before age of 50. She's admitting right here that someone just gave them a home that they sold and invested.
That you sold in 2023, which means it had tripled or quadrupled in value. We are not the same. It's like you guys don't understand the phrase apples to apples. Yeah, I mean, we did that. I don't know what this guy's talking about. I mean, somebody left us a goddamn house when they died, but, hell, I don't know what this guy's problem is. Fuck you. Somebody left you a whole ass house. We owned 2, but we had 3. Holy shit, who else died? Is the explanation for your wealth as a family because people die? Strict budget before age 50? Okay. Strict budget. When gas was 75 cents a gallon. Fucking serious? So you know what kind of financial situation millennials are in.
Never said it was. I have a 30-year-old daughter with a master's degree. I don't think she will ever own a home. Not getting mine. It's for sale. That's part of my retirement.
But you still could not resist coming to these comments to brag about your wealth. What are you doing? What is wrong with your generation? What is wrong? Is it the lead paint? Is that what it is? I mean, it's a likely explanation.
All right, we'll move on. Fuck, I don't know. I think it's interesting that even people in, traditional jobs where you think, oh, they got a good job, they make good money, are still struggling in a lot of the country. What else do we have? We just watched that one. Airstrikes. Israeli airstrikes. Look at this shit. Just destroy this fucking building, dude. This is in Gaza. I don't know that this was, they claim it was a residential buildings. Maybe they claimed they were being used, but I don't know. They're committing war crimes at this point. I don't, it's hard to tell. This has just come out a few days ago, so it's hard to tell. Boom. Done. Do you guys know? I don't really care for her, right? I think her parents probably shouldn't have put her out in the public spotlight so early. You guys know who Greta Thunberg is, right? Greta Thunberg posted that she was going to Gaza. And she posted that she was going to go to Gaza, and on the way there, she was going to get on this ship that was taking aid to Gaza. And then a sitting U.S. congressman retweeted her post about the aid ship and said, I hope Greta and her friends can swim. And then Israel sunk the fucking ship. Is that a coincidence?
Activist Greta Thunberg was supposed to board this aid ship.
Lindsey Graham says, hope Greta and her friends can swim. She said she was going to get on that ship.
Activist Greta Thunberg was supposed to board this aid ship, and Senator Lindsey Graham tweeted, I hope Greta and her friends can swim. And then Israel bombed that aid ship off the Malta coast. She did not board the aid ship, and she is alive, but it's astonishing that sitting U.S. representatives are calling for the death of activists at the hands of a foreign military.
Is that a real thing? That's pretty crazy, right? It's got to just be a coincidence. It's wild, though. I saw this burn. This is pretty good. You guys will enjoy it.
Am I going to hell for laughing at this? Am I going to hell? Probably. This is next level. Donald Trump Jr. posted, they violate... Oh, sorry, hold on one second. Had to get in character. They violated my father's due process rights. No, they didn't learn what that means. Tainted the grand jury and then lied through their teeth about it. I don't know who this is that responded, but they are now my hero. Shut up and go mow your mom.
And that is a real picture of the grave on Trump's golf course.
Means tainted the grand jury and then lied through their teeth about it. I don't know who this is that responded, but they are now my hero. Shut up and go mow your mom.
Holy shit.
Fucking hell. Oh shit, that's...
Go mow your mom. I think the rumor was that he buried her at this golf course, Bedminster. Well, where is it in New Jersey? They married at this golf course because it was some type of tax exempt status that he got for a while.
I wondered if this was really Ivana Trump's grave because he buried her on one of the holes on his golf course. Sorry. Well, according to Snopes, who's usually pretty reliable about these things, it's true. That's really her grave.
Social media post showing gravesite of Ivana Trump, the first wife of former U.S. President Donald Trump, obscured by weeds and long grass, went viral. They don't even landscape where they buried her at.
It's actually a photo from August of 2023. Trump buried his ex-wife at his golf course and refuses to landscape her grave.
Like, there's a stone marker there. It's just flat, and you can't see it in the grass, right?
Needed further proof of what kind of person Trump is. God almighty. And you can see it's in like the same...
That's what it used to look like. See, that's the same marker. All this is grown up, grass all around it. This is what it was when she was buried.
Type of area. And this is, you can see her marker right there, Ivana Trump. This is what he did. This is how he buried her. Couldn't even trim the weeds and tall grass, before allowing people to take photos. So
it was a Donald Trump Jr. post.
Wow. Spared no expense. Is there even a coffin, or did he just fucking roll her in there? I hope she haunts him daily.
Pretty rough. Pretty rough. Got him good. God, I wish you would have replied to it. Scaramucci, Anthony Scaramucci, making some very good podcast appearances. This being one of them.
Is your ladder leaning on the wrong wall? If you had stayed with Trump,
I couldn't stay with Trump. There was a number of different reasons why I couldn't stay with Trump. He's not a constitutionalist. Remember, I took constitutional law. I was trained as a lawyer. I believe in the checks and balances of the system, the three separate branches of government, further decentralization through the states. That's what's really led to me living a good part of the American dream. There's no centralized power in the country. There's no tyranny. Your Irish landsman, Jack Kennedy, had a great interview in 1962. He was 1 year into the job, and he told David Brinkley, I went to the...
So yeah, he was trained as a lawyer. I don't know that he worked as a lawyer. I think most of his stuff was in investment, wealth management, Goldman Sachs and shit like that, but he went to Harvard Law.
Of course, I thought there was power there. There was no power. So I ran for the Senate. There had to be power there. Oh, there was no power. It must be down Pennsylvania Avenue. And what Jack Kennedy said to the guy very wryly, he said, I'm here in the White House. There's not a lot of power here. And the point being, and he said it in a beautiful Jeffersonian way, that the lack of power in these jobs has created this great decentralized aspirational American economy.
So how do you think...
So Trump doesn't want that. I couldn't stay with him.
Okay.
I may have my ladder on the wrong ladder, but I have my ladder on the American ladder. I'm a pro-American, pro-democracy.
He was actually in law school at Harvard Law at the same time as Barack Obama, Rod Rosenstein, Neil Gorsuch. He credited his education at Harvard Law as a springboard for his career in finance. He never practiced law. And went to work at Goldman Sachs directly after graduating.
Democracy person. There are things that Trump does that I do agree with. I think he's right on the border. I think he was right on certain tariffs, surgical tariffs with China. China's dumping stuff into our market. They're getting subsidized by.
I think he's right on NATO.
He's wrong on NATO.
Surely Europe are free riding.
Well, again, this is very complicated.
That was part of the policy. That was part of the policy. We had implied protection of Europe.
Okay, we're running out of time.
Yeah, okay.
You have a security umbrella the United States put in place, and Eisenhower himself said he did not want the European countries to build up. You guys fight with each other. You've been fighting with each other since Charlemagne. You go hard at each other. You went hard at each other twice in the 20th century. And Eisenhower was like, let's defang, let's declaw Europe. We'll have this benevolent democracy, at least it was up until Trump, be the security umbrella for everybody, and it'll serve our interests. We'll be able to export our power. There'll be soft power related to our culture in Hollywood. There'll be soft power related to the primacy of our dollar. And it's generally worked for the country. We have a minute, but I just want to make this point.
Yeah.
1982, we were 4% of the world's population, 26% of the world's output. It's 2025, 43 years later, we're the exact numbers. We've done
4% of the population, 26% of the output.
Things right with our policy to maintain our economic prowess around the world. And I think what Donald Trump is doing is a mistake. And so I can't have my ladder up against his wall for those reasons, because what he's doing is un-American.
That's a very good answer. Should you just stick with Trump because now he's back in favor, right? And he's back in the White House. He's got the power again, people around him. It's a very good answer from a guy that I didn't really think I'd like. He worked as Trump's communication director. Is that it? For just a very short bit. But there you go. What is this? Please consider supporting the show if you like it at coldbeer.fund, coldbeer.fund. That's the website where you can make a donation to the show. You can use bits or super chats or whatever. But consider supporting the show. That's how I pay the bills and keep the show running. We live in a very small camper that was ravaged by Helene, so that's how I pay for the office and electricity and the internet and all that shit. Thank you for that. This is a very interesting point. Israel claims that they know exactly how many terrorists they've killed, how many members of Hamas or whatever they've killed, and exactly how many are left. But when you ask them how many civilians have been killed, they're fucking clueless. They couldn't even begin to make a guess. They can't even fucking estimate it. Are we talking 100 or 100,000? I don't know. I have no idea. What are the chances that that's true? Watch this. This is so fucking frustrating.
No, we've killed 14,000 terrorists.
No, you don't.
Now you tell
No, you
me.
don't.
Yes, we do.
No, you
yes,
don't.
we do. So you tell me.
No,
we know
I'm
how
sorry.
many
I'm not
brigades
having
we've
that.
gotten rid of.
I pressed
we
the Israeli.
know how many brigades.
Hang on.
We know how many brigades we've gotten rid of. We know how many
Hang on.
brigades
I'm going
are
to
left.
respond to you. I did
We
put
know
this.
how many brigades.
I put this to an Israeli government spokesman. I asked him, how many Hamas have you killed? And he gave me this figure.
Oh, thank you for the bits. I appreciate it.
It tells you laws and
Thank you for that.
orders. Because we're a nation of law and order. Oh, all of a sudden. Oh, man, this guy. Look at this guy. Oh, and look at him. He's all upset today. Not upset. Shoot. I sleep like a baby every night.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the great chats and entertainment, man. Yeah, I appreciate it. That was the Derek Johnson alert.
How many Hamas have you killed? And he gave me this figure. And I said, how many civilians have you killed? And he had no idea. I said, well, then how can you be so precise about how many terrorists you've killed? You can't. If you've got no idea how many civilians you've killed, why should I believe a word about the numbers of Hamas?
Because we know how many brigades they have.
There's no way. There's no way, right? Because let's say you get a battlefield determination of deaths, right? Right? A number. Let's say you do a bombing and 700 people die. If 700 people died, or let's say 500 people, if 500 people died, and you claim that 200 of them were terrorists, or 400 of them were terrorists, then you have to know how many civilians died. So there's no way to have this exact number of terrorists dead without even remotely knowing a ballpark of how many civilians died. They just don't want to say the number. They claim, oh, well, in World War II, no one was running around counting the civilians.
Should I believe a word about the numbers of Hamas?
Because we know how many brigades they have, because we have that intelligence. We know how many brigades
So just to be
were
clear,
in different
just to be
places.
clear, you know exactly how many terrorists you've killed, but you have no idea how many
We
civilians.
estimate, absolutely, we estimate that there's about 14,000 terrorists, which we've gotten rid of. We know how many are left.
And how many civilians have you killed?
The UN, again, Piers, in the middle of the Second World War, I don't think you could have pushed
You're
Churchill
doing it as well.
to ask him.
Sorry,
What
Fleur.
am I doing?
You're doing the same
What
thing
am I
the government
doing?
spokesman did.
Absolutely
You know
not.
exactly
It
how
is
many
a
terrorists you've killed, but
nonsensical
you've
we
no
don't know
idea
exactly.
how many civilians.
We don't know exactly.
How
We don't know
convenient.
exactly. We don't know exactly.
How
You're really
convenient
hanging on. You're
that
really
Israel
stretching
knows
it.
exactly how many terrorists you've
Do you
killed,
believe
but
the
you've
UN
no
numbers?
idea
Do
how
you
many
believe the
innocent
UN
women and
numbers?
children.
I don't know who in the middle of a war starts counting here.
You're
starts counting the
counting.
people that they've killed.
You're counting.
No, we
You're very specifically counting the terrorists you've killed.
know how many are left.
Sorry, you're counting, but you're only counting one side.
Piers, you seem to be a little obsessed with this.
Yeah,
counting
I'm
of
obsessed with
numbers.
how many civilians are being
Let's say-
killed.
That's insane. There's no fucking way. You can't do that. All right, you guys remember how I was bragging about the Ukraine attack? how we were all proud about the Ukraine attack, how well it was carried out. It gets even better. Russia started rounding up the truck drivers responsible for bringing the trucks into their country that had the drones in it. It does hurt agreeing with Piers. I agree. They rounded up the truck drivers and found out that the truck drivers were Russian dummies. They bid on a job, were told that it was housing components, picked up the crates, took them where they were. When they were en route, they were called and said, hey, just drop it here. The Russians were complete stooges. The drivers were complete Russian stooges.
So it looks like Ukraine tricked some Russian truck drivers into delivering drone launch platforms outside of a couple Russian airfields. And this is coming from Russia, by the way. So they said they were able to identify 2 or 3 of these truck drivers, brought them in for questioning. Like, hey, man.
That makes this so much better. I don't know if you understand it. That makes this so much better. That they just parked their truck and then the roof come off of it and drones took off and blew up the fucking base they were beside.
Blew up a bunch of our bombers. What's going on? And the story is the same across the board. These are long-haul truckers. These are guys, they're bidding on jobs, got a job to go pick up a container at this warehouse, and they were told that it was prefabricated housing, parts for a home, and they had to deliver it to another location. Normal job, right? Just a day's work. The guys picked it up, and then as they were driving, they got a call that said, hey, by the way, just set it over here, park here. We're going to bring somebody over to pick it up and deliver it the rest of the way. Or this is the drop-off location. We'll be there in a minute. And they stopped these different locations, and each one of them was within strike range of a Russian military airfield. So the drivers, I guess, started to panic a little bit, as one might when your truck just opens up and drones start flying out and explosions start going off in the distance. As of now, it doesn't look so. Russia is saying they apprehended people associated with this plot. It looks like the people they apprehended, maybe that's too strong of a word, are Russians that are like, we have no idea what happened here. Like, we just thought we were doing a normal job and drones started flying out of our trucks. So it looks like Ukraine tricked some Russian truck drivers.
And Zelensky made a statement that if Russia says they made any arrests, that's not true. That they did have Ukrainian truck drivers that took them close to the border, near the border, on the border, into Russia or whatever. But all those drivers have already returned home long before the attack. So they picked up a load that was probably dropped off by somebody Ukrainian that they bid on. They bid on it, told them to get it en route. They told them, hey, set this down here, take it there. We're going to bring another truck, whatever. When they did, the fucking roof came off of the cube container, right? And took off the shipping container, and the drones took off. That's amazing.
Into delivering drones.
It's fucking amazing.
14 Russian aircraft destroyed or heavily damaged. That's the current assessment based off of what we can visually confirm on satellite imagery or the videos coming out yesterday showing the effects of Ukraine's operation.
I found that Ukrainian
drones they launched.
Ukrainian fight drone simulator. I might start playing that on TikTok.
From inside of Russia against Russian airfields and took out a pretty significant amount of Russia's strategic air force. So looking at the U.S. and pro-Ukraine side here, running these tallies, and then we'll look at the Russian side as well. We've got 8 Tu-95s destroyed. Those are bombers. 1 heavily damaged Tu-95, 4 destroyed Tu-22 bombers, and 1 destroyed AN-22 cargo plane. Military informant. Russian source here. At some point they say we just got to confirm what's out there in the footage, because if we deny it and there's a video of the thing burning or satellite imagery of the thing destroyed, it doesn't do us any good. So military informant, based off of that, says 5 destroyed Tu-95s, 2 destroyed Tu-22s, and 1 destroyed AN-12. Now, to give you an idea of why that's significant, if we look over at the total number of aircraft Russia has available, 60 Tu-95s roughly in operation. 5 of those, according to Russian sources, were destroyed yesterday. Estimated 27 Tu-22s are in operation. Russian sources say that 2 of those were destroyed yesterday. So I'm not going to risk the math on that, but what, 6, 7, 8% of each one of those bombers eliminated in the span of 15, 20 minutes yesterday? That's a significant strike. 14 Russian aircraft. I did not expect we only lost 14 strategic bombers as the gotcha moment today, but That's what folks are going with, to my surprise. So a couple things here. First off, this is visually confirmed as of now. 40 plus targets were engaged yesterday. 14 have been visually confirmed by footage or satellite imagery that we only have of one airbase, 1 out of the 4 that were hit. As we see more imagery coming out, there's probably going to be the effects on those other air bases. Also, after Russian soldiers and civilians yesterday were sharing a bunch of videos saying, oh my God, look, the airplane is on fire. The Russian media clamped down on that, completely shut down any more videos coming from the scenes of the strike. So we have nothing there, and we have no satellite imagery until probably another day or two. We'll get more. This is more than we normally get. How many times has Russia destroyed a HIMARS or an F-16 or who knows what? And it goes both ways in any conflict. We're still debating today what the actual effects of the India and Pakistan strikes were back and forth. We have no idea. There's like scattered satellite imagery that keeps getting doctored. So visual confirmation of 14 aircraft being destroyed less than 24 hours after it actually happened is above and beyond what anybody has been provided in terms of proof for any military operations in recent history. But yes, only 14 of those have been confirmed so far. As we get more information, I would expect that number to go up. And for what it's worth, so do the Russian double Rs. I did not expect we only lost 14.
Get it, baby.
So you know when President Zelensky was in the White House getting dressed down by President Trump and Vice President Vance, and they said, you don't have the cards. Turns out he knew this operation was in the works that whole time, which I would say today, and as more information comes out, it just confirms
He did know the cards. He did have the cards. He was holding the cards.
this further. This is the most significant military operation in recent history, certainly in my lifetime. This is wild. $500 drones taking out multiple $150 million plus bombers, and it's wild what played out here. But we got a statement from President Zelensky yesterday confirming that they did take part in this operation, that it took more than a year and a half of planning. He said it is an absolutely unique operation. To that, I would confirm. He said the most interesting thing, and we can already say this publicly, is that the office of our operation on Russian territory was located right next to the FSB of Russia in one of the regions, kind of a poke in the eye. He says 117 total drones were used in this operation and the corresponding number of drone operators, as in each drone was flown individually by a pilot back in Ukraine. He says 34% of strategic cruise missile carriers at the airfields were hit. And I want to address that real quick because some people viewed that as 34% of Russia's air force was hit. That's not what he said. Or 34% of their bombers were hit. That's not what he said. 34% of the strategic cruise missile carriers, Tu-95s and Tu-22s, at the airfields that were targeted were hit. We don't know how many of those were destroyed. We talked about it in a previous video. 14 on or about is the total number based off of satellite imagery and footage at the time. But 34 kind of lines up with the satellite imagery that we're seeing, 34%. He also added that all of their people involved in this operation had been moved out of Russian territory prior to the operation and are now back safe in Ukraine. So some interesting statements here as we get more and more information on this Operation Spiderweb. So you know what President Zelensky was... All right, so we got to look at the new Trump-Iran nuclear deal, and
oh God,
it's about the same as the last one, and it's not just me.
Please tell me he's not huffing and puffing and just going to redo Obama's nuclear deal that he ended.
Saying that. Breitbart News, an organization pretty friendly to the Trump administration, in their assessment said, quote, the reported terms appear similar to those accepted by
Remote Reaper drone
15 deal that President Trump withdrew from in 2018. Trump seems to have suggested in recent days that his proposed new nuclear deal will have stronger provisions regarding the inspection of suspected Iranian nuclear sites. Now, for what it's worth, Iran apparently has already rejected this. A senior diplomat talking to Reuters yesterday said Iran has drafted a negative response to the U.S. proposal, which could be interpreted as a rejection of the U.S. offer. So who knows? Maybe this thing's dead on arrival. But some key components here. This will allow Iran to continue to enrich uranium, which is an issue for a lot of hardliners here that see any uranium enrichment as a problem. And full dismantlement was the argument. Like, that can't be allowed at all. And this new term does allow that, up to 3%, which is slightly stricter than 3.67 under the JCPOA version 1. We'll call this version 2. There's some additional details, kind of some restrictions there, but that's the big one, is uranium enrichment will continue just at a smaller purity. Inspections would be roughly the same, done through the IAEA, the UN Nuclear Watchdog Agency, alongside the United States. No major changes there. Again, as Breitbart noted, it sounds like Trump is suggesting there's going to be...
I think Russia is going to be terrified of any tractor and trailer from now on. They're going to have to inspect them all.
Additional inspection protocols, but that's not been articulated quite yet. And one big issue here is nothing seems to have been presented around the weaponization of nuclear weapons. So it's not just the...
Not to mention, they could have went to Moscow. They could have went to the fucking Kremlin.
Of the uranium enrichment, but also can that be weaponized? Can that be placed onto some sort of missile or delivery device? JCPOA version 1 had some inspections in place and restrictions around that. That has not been made public for the 2025 proposal. It's not clear if it's not in there or if it's just not being reported. But either way, again, as of now, whether it's dead on arrival or not, it looks like the new U.S.-Iran nuclear deal is JCPOA version 2. It's probably the best way to look at it. All right, so we got to look at the new Trump-Iran nuclear deal, and spoiler alert, it's about the same as the last one. And it's not just me saying that. Breitbart News, an organization pretty friendly to the Trump administration, in their assessment said, quote, the reported terms appear similar to those accepted by President Obama in a 2015 deal that President Trump...
It's going to be the same goddamn deal that he ended, that he did. He brought all this upon himself. It's going to be the same fucking... That's so ridiculous.
Up this chart in the Oval Office yesterday, highlighting his trade deal with the United Kingdom. So Trump showed up this chart in the Oval Office yesterday, highlighting his trade deal with the United Kingdom. Let's break it down. First, what we're paying. He puts this $6 billion tariff number here in green, indicating it's some sort of win. It's not. That's $6 billion.
It doesn't matter how much we make off of tariffs. That is a tax against you. First to businesses and then passed along to you. He could put $100 billion up there. All that does is raise the cost of living for you. You paid that. We as a collective paid that.
$1 billion in taxes on U.S. businesses. And it's not an income tax paid on profits. It is an upfront cash expense that these businesses pay before they sell a thing. So what are they going to do? They're going to try to pass all of those costs onto us, the consumer, via higher prices. And what they can't pass to us, they will
the art of the taco.
Cutting elsewhere, which means laying off their U.S. workforce. So this $6 billion, it's not a win. It's something that we pay, U.S. consumers, U.S. businesses, and U.S. workers. Now, what do we get? Trump says $5 billion in, quote, new market access. But that's incredibly misleading. That's not what U.S. exporters get. In fact, that's just the value of our current exports to the United Kingdom that will supposedly get lower tariffs because
So that's how much we currently export to the UK.
Of this deal. Now, we export $80 billion per year to the UK. So this historic deal helps maybe 5% of our exports. And that supposed benefit, that's right here. Trump says the tariffs will drop from 5.1 to 1.8%. Now, I can't confirm that. There's no citations. We don't even really have a deal yet. So I suspect these numbers are inflated, but let's just assume.
Well, they're just made up. We don't have a deal. We've just been talking about potentially a deal.
Telling the truth.
That doesn't include Rolls-Royce.
That's a 3.3% cut in the tariff rate. The easiest way for exporters to monetize this is by raising their prices by an offsetting amount. Roughly 3.3%, technically a little bit higher, but immaterially so. So 3.3% times $5 billion is a potential benefit of $165 million. So that's the trade. We pay $6 billion, and in return, we maybe get $165 million back.
That sounds great. Pay $6 billion, maybe get $165 million back. Best case scenario.
Now, some will say, why are markets up? Markets are not up. Markets are recovering from their prior losses because they correctly see this as Trump capitulating. And they now expect him to do the same with China in the coming week.
Do you believe in God? And I think, okay, there's a couple of mysteries in that question. What do you mean do? What do you mean you? What do you mean believe? And what do you mean God?
Jordan Peterson, he's got a handle on it. So this story popped up. Navy orders force-wide housing inspections after Secretary appalled by Guam barracks conditions. Navy Secretary John Phelan visited Guam earlier this month and was appalled after seeing the conditions of an Air Force barracks where junior service members were living, prompting an ongoing Navy-wide inspection over more than 100,000 barracks units, according to the government watchdog and service officials. Conditions included exposed wires, corroded plumbing, and dilapidated walls, splattered with paint to cover mold. After Phelan's visit, more than 70 Marines and sailors were moved out of Palau Hall Barracks, a housing facility at Anderson Air Force Base. Another 77 airmen there are in the process of being relocated in anticipation of a $53 million renovation scheduled to start later this year, an Air Force spokesperson told military.com on Friday. The Project on Government Oversight, a Washington D.C.-based watchdog group, obtained images of the squalid housing and correspondence sent by the Navy's head of installations, who ordered all regional commands to inspect their barracks by the end of May. Now, this sounds like a good thing, and it probably is. Barracks have been an issue for a long time. At the same time that this is supposedly going on, the Army is diverting money away from barracks improvement. And where do you think it's going? So they're trying to play this up like we care about the warfighter. Pentagon diverts $1 billion from Army barracks to fund the border mission. So are we worried about barracks and improvement and keeping the soldiers in housing that is adequate? Or are we going to take $1 billion fucking dollars? By the way, the guy that wrote this guy right here, I don't know if it'll let me open his image full page. This guy right here, I was in boot camp with. He was actually, I think, in my room. Right, we had bays that had 2, 4, 6, 8 people in it, and I think he was in, because it's done by last name, I think he was in my bay. Steve Bainon, 1st Platoon. Insane. Diverting $1 billion from barracks projects to fund border missions, while also complaining about barracks, and we can't let soldiers live like this. We love the veterans. Do you? Do you, though? Let's see if this guy's still bitching.
Excuse my voice because I'm out sick, but I still got plenty of energy to tell you to kiss my ass. At one point, I had 13 weeks of paid time off accrued at my previous job. I know how to work. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. You literally
work harder.
That wages have fallen further behind the cost of living than they ever have before in the history of America. So from a millennial to what is probably a dumbass boomer, shut the fuck up. Excuse my voice because I'm out sick, but I still got plenty of energy to tell you.
Bro, work harder.
At one point, I had 13 weeks.
Anyways, let's see what this is. I haven't watched this yet.
Stop screaming, Danny.
Of course I do.
Good, I'm smiling. Let's get it. You're not an officer. You're a f***ing Nazi.
Okay.
You're a Nazi.
Well, I'm sorry you feel that way, Dan.
If you want war, I'm gonna get you a
An attempt to arrest a wanted suspect.
Damn, that got escalated, didn't it?
Spirals into a life-or-death standoff as 4 officers face off against a barricaded suspect with no intention of surrendering. As negotiations fail and tensions rise, officers prepare to breach, but a sudden act of violence changes everything in an instant. The following is based on official police records, and most of the following footage has never been seen before. On the night of January 24th, 2023, 4 officers with the White Bear Lake Police Department arrive at an apartment complex to arrest 33-year-old Daniel Lauren Holmgren Jr. for a warrant related to a domestic assault charge. After knocking for several minutes, Daniel's mother, Vicky, answers the door.
Hi, sorry to bug you. Hey, can I talk to Dan just real quick? Yeah. Okay. I just have a quick question for him about an old case that we just need to clear up real quick.
What's wrong? Is something wrong?
No, nothing's wrong, hon. Yeah, I know you too, Dan. Just real
Warrant 4th, 2023. The following is based on official police records, and most of the following footage has never been seen before. On the night of January 24th, 2023, 4 officers with the White Bear Lake Police Department arrive at an apartment complex to arrest 33-year-old Daniel.
So they're lying to him. It is a warrant. They're lying to him. Yeah, everything's wrong. This is just about a case that we need to clear something up.
Jr. for a warrant related to a domestic assault charge. After knocking for several minutes, Daniel's mother, Vicky, answers the door.
Hi, sorry to bug you. Hey, can I talk to Dan just real quick? Yeah. Okay. I just have a quick question for him about an old case that we just need to clear up real quick.
What's wrong? Is something wrong?
No, nothing's wrong, hon. Yeah, I know you too. Yeah, a long time no talk. Yeah.
Hey, Danny. You want to hold the door for a short time? Yeah, sure. Okay, he's at the door.
Just tell him it's Officer Sheik. Maybe he'll remember.
He said it's Officer Sheik. He went walking for a minute. He didn't
confirm.
He said he didn't do anything wrong.
Okay, all right. Well,
something wrong.
Well, he has a warrant right now that we need to try to take care of for him. So we've had history, so I just wanted to come here and advise him of it. So, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, yeah, before he gets picked up by somebody else. So
I didn't know.
Yeah, well, I'm sure, Mom. I'm not sure I'm not kind of even know what it was for. You don't know.
Or something?
I'm sure. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what it's for. So.
Okay.
All right. Well.
This is called the fatal funnel. The fatal funnel.
Dan?
For a reason.
Yeah, can I just talk to him from here?
He's not. Why you just talk to him like that?
The officers enter the apartment to learn that Daniel has barricaded himself in his bedroom. Upon learning the police are just outside his door, he becomes increasingly agitated.
Dan, it's Officer Sheik. All right, well, you have a warrant and you got to take care of it. So as of right now, you're under arrest. Okay, well, come on out.
He's not doing anything wrong right now either. He's doing really good.
Well, that's why I'm here. Like, I understand his history, and I just want to
open the door. You came in the house for no reason. You didn't know I was here. So pay for it.
Okay, well, Dan, you have a felony warrant.
A felony warrant for what? You didn't even have to answer the door. You didn't answer the door because you illegally entered my house.
I didn't illegally enter your house.
Stop screaming, Danny. He has nothing. Yes, he has nothing.
Yep,
He's just pissed. Danny!
We'll take 7-0 here. We got an uncooperative male refusing to answer.
Okay, let me go grab it.
Despite Vicky's efforts, Daniel refuses to come out.
I told you not to open the door, nigga. You killed me.
Danny, I will bail you out.
You killed me, nigga. You killed me. Open the door.
Okay, what do you mean killed you?
You killed me.
What are you in trouble for?
I raised a bench when I missed court. He's not even supposed to be in here. It's a bench.
All right, fine.
No, I'm not.
I will pick you up tomorrow.
No.
Yeah, but they're going to take you.
No.
They're in the house. I can't do anything about it.
Dan, your mom didn't know anything that was going on. I just wanted to talk to you.
In the system, you knew she didn't know. She knew she let you in. You're in my house illegally.
Okay, I'm not in here illegally, Dan.
Don't yell.
Well, your mom answered the door, and I was talking to her, so.
Man, look now, isn't it?
Officer Dillon quickly heads downstairs to prop open a door for additional officers that have been called to assist. Meanwhile, Vicky asks a clarifying question.
Why would you guys come up here if it's a bench warrant?
Well, because he has a warrant.
Just let me know.
It's a bench warrant.
Well, he has a warrant, so he has to go to jail to take care of it. Because it wasn't taken care of. It's a felony level warrant. It's a felony level warrant. I mean, he has to go to jail. It just is what it is. He has to take care of it.
Yeah, but that's not the truth. If she didn't open the door, you would have left because it's not an active warrant.
It is an active warrant. Well, it is active because it's current and it's live.
It's not like you enter people's houses illegally. You wouldn't be able to keep them the door and leave, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, I've been joining my night. Now you're in the house illegally because you took advantage of my biological mother. Thank you for admitting what I already said.
Well, I'm not here illegally, to be clear.
Yeah, we didn't let you in.
Right. But we're here, and you're here, so we can't just walk away.
Yeah, that's your problem. I understand. It's a good night. How about you?
Well, I would like it to just continue to be a nice, calm night.
You got your body cam on?
Of course I do.
So a bench warrant is literally issued from the bench, right? It's a judge. You didn't show up. You didn't do this. You're in contempt, whatever. An arrest warrant, he's saying active warrant, but an arrest warrant is when they have probable cause to arrest you for a crime. This is not a bench warrant. It's an arrest warrant. And they are treated differently. Arrest warrants are obviously served more often, more force involved and shit. And a bench warrant is kind of like, well, I know this guy, or I ran into him, or it's in the computer system, so I pick him up when I see him.
Smiling, that's it. I don't have nothing to say to you. I'm ready for war. Let's go.
Well, they are in Tennessee. I'm assuming most states are the same. I don't know.
More person with him here.
I don't care.
Ready for war.
Stop acting like that.
Daniel's statement that he's ready for war adds a volatile layer to an already uncertain standoff, as there's no way to know if he has a weapon behind the door. Officer Dillon swaps positions with Officer Sheik and attempts to talk.
The only thing I know about bench warrants is bench warrants are active when they're in place, and then they're inactive when they're called off, basically. A bench warrant is like if found, kind of deal.
Talk to Daniel.
Hey, Dan.
That's not even the same guy, Danny.
Dan, this isn't Officer Sheik. This is Officer Dillon.
You're not an officer. You're a Nazi.
Okay.
You're a Nazi.
Well, I'm sorry you feel that way, Dan.
Yep. And I'm sorry you gained access to me through my mentally.
All right, Danny. Either way, they're inside. Take care of it.
I'm not taking care of anything. They can leave.
Well, they're not leaving. There's like 7 of them.
Well, we're gonna have fun tonight, aren't we?
What?
Hey, Dan.
We're gonna have fun tonight, aren't we?
Danny, we don't want to do this here where I live.
Officer?
We don't want to do this where I live. Remember? We talked about this. Me and you. It can't happen here. I can't have this kind of action. Okay?
Danny, I know you love your mom.
Listen, I don't love my mother. She's my biological mother. She's been schizophrenic, abusive since I was born. And when I went to fight, when you came and abducted me and brought me to a foster home, that was fun.
Hey, Danny, come on, let's go.
I'm not going nowhere.
Unsuccessful in his attempts to speak to Daniel, Officer Dillon steps back and lets Officer Sheik resume his position.
Danny, open the door.
I'm not opening.
I didn't hear anything.
There's 7 of them.
I think she said that he doesn't have anything in there. I think I heard her say that earlier.
Come in here. Come on. I can't hear this. All right, I don't want this.
If she said he doesn't have nothing in there. And I thought that she was talking about weapons and shit.
Well, if they're going to bring a dog, they should probably bring another deputy. Sarge handled it.
Why? He broke the law. He just told you. You didn't have to do it. It would have been good.
Dan, if I would have forced my way in not knowing you were here, that would have been breaking the law.
Yeah, but since you took advantage of my schizophrenic mother, now you're not.
I did not take advantage of your mom, Dan. I never have.
Stop screaming.
When backup arrives, officers begin planning a breach as Daniel's next words deliver a stark warning of the chaos that will soon unfold.
You got 4 years of legal arrest here.
I wish I would have known about this because you told me. Danny, stop it.
I don't need you getting hurt.
I'm not going to get hurt. He would never hurt me.
I'm not going to allow you to go in there.
He's not going to hurt me. He's my son.
You broke the law. Look at you, you
It's me you're looking at, Daniel.
No, they're looking at you. They're sitting there. They broke the law. Get in there smiling. He's ready. I'm ready. We're all ready. No more talk.
Please don't use things on him. Like, kill this gun and on my son, please.
We're not.
No, Danny, come on.
Vicky, tell him to slow down. Tell him they want to
Vicky, we just
No, come on, let's go. Let him arrest you and I'll come pick you up. Because there's not 1 here. There's 7.
That's fine.
Okay. I'm no longer asking you. No disrespect.
Ooh. I don't even think they heard him, but because this guy was busy talking, he said more bullets for everybody.
Come on, Danny.
No. Now they're trying to boss you in your own home.
No, that's me, dummy.
No, stay out of the door. I want to talk. We're talking. I've been waiting for this.
lover. Dan, pedophile.
Vicky, you're not going to be able to reason with him. I'm going to need you to leave all the way. Please don't make me force you out of the home.
No, he isn't going to hurt me.
Okay, yeah, but I don't want him. I don't want you to get caught in the middle of this. Please leave over here.
Please don't hurt my son with that.
We'll try not to, Vicky.
Hey, I got a question.
Yeah.
God, that's a fucked up thing. At least say, we're going to do everything possible to make sure that we don't hurt your son. That's a hard thing to hear as a parent. Like, we'll try not to. Sorry. Like,
are you guys ready?
I'm ready to end this calmly.
I'm ready too.
Okay, well, come on out then.
No, why would I come out? Don't you think that everyone's going to help you, officer?
I understand. So, no.
Yes, I am. You're not hurting my son.
You're not going in.
They're ready to kill me and I'm ready to die. Danny, stop!
Despite repeated requests to leave, Vicky's refusal forces officers to manage conflict on both sides of the door.
Pon, can you stand with Mom?
I'm coming in. No.
This is not an option. You need to leave the apartment.
No.
We need you to leave the
I don't want
apartment.
my son to get hurt. You should open the door, Vicky. Everybody has their life. I go, Danny, they came in either way.
She's going to get out of the apartment.
yeah, I think there's often a mentality that once they've got, it depends on what you're in. Like, if he's wanted on like a murder or fucking murder spree or raping spree or something, then I think there's also a mentality a lot of times they don't want to step it back down. When honestly, they could probably go outside and then wait for things to calm down, snatch him up the next time he leaves the house. They could even put an officer there waiting for him to leave. Or hire a neighbor, or ask a neighbor, not hire them, but ask a neighbor to let us know when he's out and about or something.
You come back here to be arrested, Vicky.
Yeah, my husband is here. I'm in my bedroom.
Right there.
Please, I'm not even dressed.
Just right outside.
Can I go in my bedroom
No,
and at least get my jacket? I don't have a bra on even.
Get a jacket.
Please.
Come right out.
After getting her jacket, Vicky is finally escorted toward the front door of the apartment as officers prepare to take their next action.
I can hear him banging stuff around him. I don't know if there's weapons that sound like whatever it is. Just heads up, guys. I don't need rounds going for that door at you guys. Danny, come out.
Hey, I'm going to defend myself. Are you ready for this action? He's defending himself. No, please don't hurt my son.
Let's go.
An officer fires non-lethal rounds beneath the door, and in an instant, the scene erupts into chaos and gunfire.
It's not a bench warrant, but still, they could have. It's nothing crazy. It's a former domestic violence active arrest warrant. Pepper balls.
9171 of county consent.
Pepper balls under the door thing. Then actual gunshots.
Fire! I'm down. I'm hit bad. Get me out!
It's the pepper ball.
Damn, dude. That is not pepper balls. It's the pepper balls. Calm down. That the dude's in there that came because he knew Danny and was trying to make it kind of easy. He's like, I'm down, I'm hit bad, I'm bleeding out. It's the pepper balls.
It's the.
I'm down. I'm hit bad. Get me out!
Yeah, obviously fall back. I don't know why the guy was just standing there. You gotta address this fucking casualty.
Get out!
Oh God, they've dropped the shield.
Get her out of here!
Officer Sheik, after suffering multiple gunshot wounds, is helped by a fellow officer as he limps toward a cruiser.
Let's go, bro. Hustle. Okay, look, just whoa, come on, man. Just get there. Get up. Just relax. Okay, take a breath. Okay. Bobby, we got it. Yes, sir. I don't know. Let us know we're self-transporting.
Thankfully, they don't have to go far before help comes to them.
Hold on, is this medics? Nope. That's fire.
Dropped the shield, got hung up on a thing, on a fucking chair, dining room chair, blocked the door.
Right here, stop. Okay. Stop. Turn your lights on. Turn your lights. Let me out. Let me out. Bobby, let us out.
Tell my wife I loved her. It's a robot, Morty.
Officer Sheik.
None of this is real.
3 times in the stomach, pelvis, and thigh area, including one wound a paramedic would later describe as a hole in his testicle. He was urgently transported to Regents Hospital as the standoff inside the apartment continued. Reports state that Daniel ultimately surrendered following a SWAT operation in which they launched tear gas into the apartment. Officers recovered a 9mm M&P firearm from the bathroom next to his bedroom.
He was saying stuff like, I have enough bullets for everybody. It's going to be a war. All this shit. Like, they probably should have approached this a little bit better.
Daniel himself was reportedly unharmed. Following the incident, he was booked into the Ramsey County Jail, where his bond was set at $3 million.
It's the pepper balls.
Daniel Lauren Holmgren Jr. was formally charged with first-degree attempted murder and 3 counts of first-degree use of deadly force. 1 count of first-degree assault with a dangerous weapon was dismissed. On August 24, 2023, he was sentenced to a total of 19 years in prison with a credit of 213 days for time served. He's currently incarcerated at the Minnesota Correctional Facility in St. Cloud, Minnesota.
My testicles pierced, so.
Officer Sheik went into surgery at the hospital following the incident and survived his injuries.
Oh, let's see. Ryan Macbeth, Operation Spiderweb.
Ukraine conducted a massive attack on 4 military airports inside of Russia, something they call Operation Spiderweb. These attacks were likely executed by drones.
Wait a second. That's the interface for ArduPilot, isn't it? ArduPilot is a pre-programming pilot software, but they said they were all live fired. Maybe they launched automatically. It looks like RG Pilot there. I'm not positive.
Attack on 4 military airports inside of Russia, something they call Operation Spider.
You don't have to use RG Pilot for pre-programmed flights. You can fly within it. It's not that big a deal. I just figured they were running like beta flight or something.
These attacks were likely executed by drones launched from shipping containers, which, believe it or not, is a major plot point in my novel, The Wind Machine, available on Amazon or on Audible if you're a Marine. So it sounds like Ukraine somehow got these shipping containers into Russia. The tops opened up and launched a bunch of drones toward the targeted airfields. Now, it appears that the targets were Russia's bomber fleet, specifically the Tu.
Oh, I didn't even look at the top. Oh, fuck. You guys are right here. I was looking over here. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. RG Pilot. Well, I didn't know they used RG Pilot.
Airports inside of Russia, something they call Operation Spider.
I wonder why they don't run Betaflight. That's usually the FPV go-to is Betaflight. RG Pilot is more like if you're building like a scientific drone and you need it to do like I've got a drone I do this with. It's a 450. It's a knockoff DJI 450 that me and the boys program missions and have it drop shit and pick shit up and land at places and take off all autonomous.
Likely executed by drones launched from shipping containers, which, believe it or not, is a major plot point in my novel, The Wind Machine, available on Amazon or on Audible if you're a Marine. So it sounds like Ukraine somehow got these shipping containers into Russia. The tops opened up and launched a bunch of drones toward the targeted airfields. Now, it appears that the targets were Russia's bomber fleet, specifically the Tu-22M backfires and the Tu-95 Bears. Here's why this is important. These strategic bombers have been used to attack Ukraine with cruise missiles. Russia also doesn't manufacture these platforms anymore. Both the Bear and the Backfire ceased production in 1993 after the fall of the Soviet Union. I believe one additional Russian bomber, the Tu-160 Blackjack, is still being manufactured, although in very limited quantities. The newest one flew in 2022, and I believe there's 10 on order. I'm not sure the status of those platforms right now. But here's why this attack is important. Number one, this shows that Russia did not see this attack coming. They don't have any drone defenses around their airfields inside of Russia. This is not just a wake-up call to Russia, it's a wake-up call to the United States. Because if Ukraine can do this, China can do this to America. In fact, they did it in my novel, The Wind Machine. Number two, we don't know how many of these bombers were destroyed, although it can be assumed that this may have caused a dent in Russia's ability to launch.
I don't think any country in the world is scanning cargo ships for hidden drones.
Cruise missile attacks against Ukraine. This also might force Russia to move a lot of their bombers further back.
The last time the world freaked out about something was when the Australians shipped cardboard fixed-wing drones to Ukraine, and they used that and weren't picked up on radar. And then the U.S. starts asking their radar manufacturers, Raytheon, hey, can we pick up cardboard? And they're like, I don't think so. And everybody fucking panics.
Back into Russia, away from populated airfields. And this can further hinder how many missions Russia can actually execute per day, because it takes time to get from the middle of Siberia to the launch point. So number 3, as I'm writing,
Evergreen.
About 11:30 at night in Ukraine, I would not be surprised if Russia retaliates against Kyiv either tonight or maybe tomorrow. It depends on how fast they can get ballast on the warheads of their ballistic missiles. You remember that Oreshnik intermediate range missile that was launched against Ukraine back in November of 2024, carried an inert payload? Intermediate range nuclear weapons have a dollar value attached to them, so you don't normally launch them unless you're carrying a nuclear payload, or you want to make some kind of a point. So I would not be surprised if Russia in the coming days takes whatever intermediate range ballistic missiles it has, Oreshnik, R-26, which is, I mean, the Oreshnik is really an R-26 with a different hat, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if Russia fills some of these weapons with dummy warheads or inert warheads or ballast, and then fires them at Kyiv to make a point and kind of remind the world they have nuclear capability. So be on the lookout for a lot of misinformation.
Ballast would be what they put there instead of a nuclear warhead.
Oh my God, Russia just nuked Ukraine. Look, if ballast is coming in at Mach 10, it's going to look pretty significant on camera. Hey, Wind Machine, available on Amazon or Audible. It's got a 4.7 star rating. Thank you guys so much for watching.
It's me, Captain Bannon of the document.
So the same missiles that it would put a nuclear warhead for a nuclear striker there, instead they run out and put a fucking tungsten tip on it to take up the weight, aerodynamically operate the same and shit like that.
3-Team Yankee, when I'm not kicking commie butts, I'm wearing t-shirts from Ryan McBeth, available at Bunker Branding.
I also want to see, ooh, is this an anime? I'm a sucker for these, even though they're like AI and usually not accurate. Animations for it.
Ukrainian engineers...
Wait, what did he just say? No AI were used in the making of this video. Made in Blender. Oh, well. And are you sure? Because the name of the channel is called AI Telly.
Ukrainian engineers designed a clever drone launching system disguised as ordinary wooden cabins mounted on the backs of cargo trucks. These mobile containers looked like simple rural sheds, but inside they held reinforced structures, hidden launch platforms, battery charging
stations, they had to have some type of relay in here if they were operating them from Ukraine.
Stations and remote-controlled roof mechanisms. The design allowed for drones to be launched either vertically or at an angle, depending on their type, while built-in signal shielding helped them avoid early detection by Russian surveillance. Once these mobile silos were ready, Ukrainian intelligence operatives, possibly with help from local sympathizers.
Oh, you remember when people were freaking out about the shipping container missile launch systems?
Moved them deep into Russian territory. The trucks were quietly driven to pre-selected...
The Q-TARs were like, they're here, they're already here. Jeff B was running around saying that they're already in like 3 different ports and stationed around DC and shit. Jeff B was in a chat the other day. Dr. J, I think, got the screenshot and said that he believes that 6 Congress members were arrested this afternoon. I think that was yesterday. 6 Congress members were arrested this afternoon. Fucking retard.
Sites near key air bases, parked in places like forests, farms, or industrial areas where they blended into the landscape. They remained dormant for days or even weeks, with drones preloaded, charged, and waiting for the command to strike. When the time came, encrypted activation signals were sent remotely. The roofs of the containers slid open and the drones lifted off, some vertically, others using ramps or compressed air launch systems for a silent start. Because the launch sites were positioned just a few kilometers around 2 miles from their targets, the drones were able to reach their objectives quickly, leaving little time for Russian defenses to react. Operators guided them in real time using live video feeds, steering the drones with precision toward parked aircraft, fuel depots, and radar installations. Many of the drones carried high explosive or shape-charged warheads designed to pierce aircraft fuselages or ignite fuel stores. Some exploded on impact, while others used delayed fuses to cause maximum damage after reaching their targets. The operation was more than just a tactical win. It highlighted the growing sophistication of drone warfare and Ukraine's ability to strike deep inside Russian territory. In total, 117 drones were launched in a highly coordinated attack that hit at least 5 major air bases. Among the targets were strategic bombers, including aircraft Russia no longer manufactures, making their loss even more significant. These are the area where Ukraine struck 34% of Russia's strategic bomber fleet. Ukraine targeted strategic nuclear bombers at the Belaya Air Base in Siberia. Other key military installations also came under attack, including the Ivanovo Air Base northeast of Moscow and the Dyagilevo Air Base south of the capital. A massive explosion rocked the Arctic city of Severomorsk, home to Russia's largest fleet of nuclear submarines. Ukraine also struck the Olenya Guba naval base in the Murmansk region. Reaching as far as Siberia, the operation inflicted serious damage, reportedly destroying or disabling a significant portion of Russia's strategic bomber fleet. The strike marked a turning point, not only in the conflict itself, but in the evolution of drone warfare on the modern battlefield. Among the high-priority targets were the Tu-95 and Tu-22 strategic bombers, aircraft frequently used by Russia to launch cruise missile attacks deep into Ukrainian territory. The A-50 airborne early warning and control aircraft, vital for coordinating Russian air operations and detecting incoming threats, were also targeted. According to Ukrainian sources, the impact of the strike was substantial. More than 40 aircraft were reportedly hit. While some were completely destroyed in the explosions, others suffered significant damage, rendering them inoperable for extended periods. There are reports suggesting that Ukraine may have been using fiber optic control systems, which are immune to electronic warfare jamming. At the front of the drone is a camera with an RPG warhead positioned just below it. The warhead is flanked by 2 batteries located here and 4 propellers. However, the drone has a downside. The added weight with the fiber optic reduces its flight time to just 15 to 20 minutes and its range is limited to only 1 mile or less. This when compared to a standard drone without fiber optic, it traveled more than 5 miles, which translates to around 10 kilometers. To understand how Ukraine launched these FPV drones, let's take a look at how they are made. First, we have the carbon fiber frame, which provides a lightweight yet strong structure. The frame is designed to withstand the stresses of high-speed flight and collisions. Next, you'll notice the 4 propellers, each connected to its corresponding motor. These propellers are strategically designed with opposite angles to ensure smooth and balanced flight. This counter-rotation helps the drone maintain stability and agility during flight. All of this advanced technology requires a central processor, or what can be considered the brain of the drone. This role is played by the thin motherboard placed here. As you can see, these are not covered, which helps in reducing weight. It manages all the flight operations, processes data from sensors, and translates commands from the remote control into action. Moving to the back of the drone, we find the cables that connect the motherboard to the power supply, which is provided by the battery.
This is somebody who doesn't understand drones explaining drones from like an AI explanation.
The battery is one of the heaviest components of the drone due to its energy density. Depending on its size and capacity, the battery can power the drone for anywhere between 20 to 30 minutes. Next, let's move to the propellers and motors also need power and precise instructions to function correctly. They are connected through a series of cables located here. Both supply...
Yeah, I've built a Raspberry Pi drone before.
...and transmit control signals from the flight controller. These cables are exposed to minimize weight, ensuring the drone remains as light and efficient as possible. At the front of the drone, you'll find a camera that is connected to both the motherboard and the radio receiver, allowing it to transmit live video footage.
You can do that with all kinds of any ArduPilot capable flight controller that you can that has onboard storage. You can pre-program a flight path.
Back to the pilot. This enables the pilot to see exactly where the drone is flying in real time.
The ones that I usually use are like the F405 wings. Even though they're for fixed wings, they're pretty good with ArduPilot. I like them.
Providing crucial visual information for navigation and target acquisition. However, modern warfare has introduced new challenges. For instance, Russian forces are increasingly utilizing electronic warfare systems. These systems work by jamming the radio signals between the drone and its pilot, effectively disrupting communication and control. When this happens, the pilot loses the ability to see and control the drone, which can lead to mission failure. Communications. To address this, an additional trigger mechanism has been installed at the front of the warhead to ensure it detonates on impact either manually by the operator. Let's examine this warhead more closely. At the front, you'll find the piezoelectric trigger. The piezoelectric trigger is there's an air-filled cavity and a conical liner. This which activates the detonator.
Shape charges.
3 planes can work together as nuclear and attack aircraft, known as the white.
Anyways, I did want to see that. I like animations.
Are drawn
when they're built. Yeah, that's about it, I guess. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being here. Interesting stuff around the Ukraine attack. Interesting stuff all around. If it didn't feel like we were literally all died and we're living in a literal hell right now, it'd be an interesting time to be alive. Instead of just thinking, I could probably die if I jumped off that bridge. You guys have a good night. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here. Support the show if you want to. I may or may not be back ever. Have a good night. See you on the next one. Love you. See you. Bye.
But I can tell you this about if this douchebag happens to see this particular show, you don't have the forking balls to call out the people on this planet by name and tell them exactly who they are and tell them the rest of the world who they are. You don't have the forking balls. You don't have the balls.
Okay, Scott.
Here we go, I think I started some shit. Listen off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Listen off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet.
I've got a lawnmower. I got 2 more. I got a push behind like weed trimmer and a little rototiller to get going. I've been making TikTok videos on those. And I found this person that lives close to me that has this crazy clear bottomed, half inflatable, half like fiberglass boat that I think I might see if I can talk them way down. They only want $50 for it because it needs some work. I thought that would be cool to grab that for maybe like $20 and then try to start a TikTok project series on getting it going and throw it in the river.
Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set.
I'll show you what the, let's see, do I have it?
Ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to
It's a wild looking, it's this. I think it might get some attention on TikTok because it's so fucking weird. Not that one. It's like this, it's a clear bottom. See the bottom? And this front part's fiberglass, and then it's got these two almost like pontoons, and you can put a big motor on it. It's called a Wild Thing. They don't make them anymore. They haven't made them in years. But it is, I don't know, if I could get that for like super cheap and then make a series of videos on TikTok like getting it running or getting it to where it's water-worthy, and then trying to find a cheap motor that I could get running and then throw it on the river, I might make a series out of it. She's asking $50 or best offer, just need to get rid of this thing. So I'm thinking about offer like $20. Then she might take it. I don't know. What do you guys think? Not worth the wasting the money, or could get millions of views. Who knows?
I was like a ninja. Down goes Nino. Please say it isn't so. Got him backed up on the ropes, trying to ram it down his throat. Now things are getting rocking. He was doing so well. It's all over. Hands on his shoulders, they ringing his bell. You got
I need to blow up on TikTok is what I need to do.
copy on Cox that came first, ninth inning, second string, and they acting like they know.
I don't think they made them since the early 2000s. They're called Wild Things. But if you search Wild Thing like boat or Wild Thing like watercraft, they're like, well, it's damaged. Let me show you the one. Hold on. I guess I should have mentioned that. It's damaged. It needs a patch on the inflatable section, and it looks pretty rough. But I want a project like that to do on TikTok. So see, they've tried to inflate it. It says that it needs a patch. Asking $50, just need gone ASAP. The clear bottom looks pretty rough. Yeah, maybe it doesn't have clear bottom. Maybe that's just some type of, it looks like somebody painted the clear bottom portion of it. But it's it's pretty rough condition. And no motor, and it looks like the transom needs to be replaced. It's rotten, but it's just a piece of plywood. So I don't know. It might be a cool project to start a series on TikTok. I can't sink a ton of money into it. We're fucking broke right now, but I could do it very, very cheap and maybe make a series. All right. You guys have a good night.
I was like a ninja.